Hello, and welcome to The Pool is Abstract, where we're currently rewatching and dissecting the revived series of Doctor Who, episode by episode. My name is Connor, and with me is the woman who definitely climbed into the back of a stranger's truck for free food. It's Charlotte.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, Charlotte.
Hello.
You weren't expecting that one, were you?
I wasn't, no. I thought you were going to be like, tries out new gadget and gets abducted.
Right, okay.
Actually, that's so not me.
No.
That's so not me.
Not at all. Yeah.
Accurate. Fair enough. I'll take it.
We have, today, Charlotte, our first two-parter of Series 2.
We do.
Our first of 3. So we're covering Series 2, Episodes 5 and 6. They are called, respectively, Rise of the Cybermen and The Age of Steel. I don't know how I feel about the Rise of the Cybermen. Doesn't it kind of spoil what the villains are?
Yeah.
Saying that. Series 1 had Dalek.
Yeah.
So, I guess. But yeah, these episodes aired on May 13th and May 20th of 2006, and they were written by Tom McRae. Do you like this? Do you like this story, this two-parter?
Well, this is interesting because something we'll get into later.
Yes.
I've always thought this, and spoilers for to come, the finale to be like my favourite of Series 2. I've loved the story, but watching it back from a critical point of view has changed my opinions.
Right. You like it less?
Yes.
Okay.
And I will get into that. But yes, what about you? How are you feeling about this generally?
I've always thought this was a solid two-parter. I like it. It's not... It doesn't stand out to me in the way that, like, last week's episode, like The Girl in the Fireplace does. But this has some really strong moments. It's got some cringe.
Yes.
Not a lot, but a little bit of cringe. It's got some, like, naff elements and things like that. But in general, I think the story is pretty cohesive, because sometimes things happen and you can tell it happens because it needs to happen for the story to progress, where I feel like things here, at least off the top of my head, you give me a look.
No.
Off the top of my head, things here feel like they are naturally woven in, but I guess the face you're giving me suggests that you think otherwise.
Yeah, and again, until I looked at it more from a critical point of view, I never really fully noticed them.
Well,
Or at least
I guess
cared
we'll get
too
into
much
those.
about them to remember them.
I guess we'll get into those as we get there, but
Exactly.
from my memory, it's well written. I think there's some nice character moments. Yeah. So that's where I'm at. Do you have preamble? Anything to say before getting into this?
No preamble at all.
I do.
Oh, okay.
So obviously, this episode is the reintroduction of the Cybermen. Dalek in Series 1 was obviously kind of noteworthy for reintroducing Doctor Who's main villain, I guess, to the series. And this is, I guess, after the Daleks, the Cybermen are probably the next
Yeah.
most famous.
Do you know how many times the Cybermen featured
In Classic Who?
in Classic Who? Were they quite...
A lot.
So they were like the Daleks often?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm currently in Pertwee's era. Right. And technically, their first appearance is in The 10th Planet, which is a William Hartnell story.
Yeah.
So they did show up in the first Doctor's era, in his last story. But I'm pretty sure that the Cybermen might be Patrick Troughton, the second Doctor's most recurring villain. It seems like every 3 stories was a Cyberman story.
Really? That often?
It was quite a lot, yeah. I might be exaggerating a little bit, but yeah, it was a lot. Do you know what I mean? Patrick Troughton did it for 3 seasons, and I'm pretty sure he's got 5 or 6 different Cybermen stories.
That is one thing. Again, I don't want to fill the preamble too much, but that is one thing I would be interested in Classic Who, because I've kind of seen a little bit of videos of how Daleks are.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I don't know much. Mainly it's like funny clips of Daleks doing stupid shit.
Like the one flying out the building.
Yeah.
Or the one from the chase flying off the boat.
The one flying off the boat.
Yeah.
But I haven't really seen Cybermen. So I wonder if they're as effective as they are.
Depends on the story, is my honest answer to that, because
Fair enough.
obviously it doesn't really come into play here, but with the Cybermen, the Daleks are the Daleks. I mean, you get different ranks, you get an Emperor Dalek and you get a Supreme Dalek, but Daleks are Daleks.
Yeah.
Where with the Cybermen, it's like every other time they show up, they are a different sort of branch of them, a different breed of them.
That's fair enough.
And they have different kind of capabilities and
Yeah.
things. So, obviously, in their first appearance in the 10th Planet, which is the William Hartnell story, they are the Mondasian Cybermen. So they are the same ones from World Enough and Time, the Doctor Falls. But then by the time you get to like the invasion, they're a bit more like, they look like men covered in tinfoil. Yeah, and then you get ones that look a bit more like plasticky.
Yeah.
And some a bit more like, they're obviously meant to look like steel, but they look a bit plasticky. Yeah, so it very much depends on the story, I think, and the tone of the era it's in. Like the 80s ones were a lot sillier than the 60s ones, so it's, yeah, you kind of like,
Vibe changes,
Yeah.
depending. Fair enough.
because it's like Cybermen here, I think, for the most part, the Cybermen in this two-parter are quite scary.
Yes.
But then as soon as you get to like Nightmare and Silver, do you know what I mean? You're like, no,
They're not as...
no one's scared of the Cybermen in that story.
No, but then I'm pretty scared of most of the
But it's like,
monsters as you go later on.
well, yeah.
But anyway, shall we get into it?
I do just have something else. Obviously, I know, like with Dalek, I told you, didn't I, that it was based off of Jubilee, which is an audio story from the 90s, I guess. Where this, in a similar way, this was inspired by a 2002 audio play called Spare Parts.
Oh,
So,
no, not spare parts.
so both of these stories reintroducing, the Doctor's greatest enemies, I guess, were both rough adaptations of audio stories, which I
Yeah.
find interesting. Yeah, obviously this is the Cyberman's first appearance since Silver Nemesis in 1989. And just like a little kind of behind the scenes production thing, I know Russell was aware that obviously the Cybermen had a complicated backstory.
Yeah.
Because like I say, Daleks are just Daleks. They
Yeah.
everyone knows what they're about. With the Cybermen, because they're like a different sort of branch of Cybermen every time they show up.
You can't just pinpoint it's the Cybermen. They started here and...
But every time they change, it's for a reason.
Yeah.
So it's a bit complicated, and obviously he's not expecting people new to the show to know all that. So he obviously, when bringing them back, wanted to do something that would be easy for new people to like understand. Hence why he decided to create the parallel universe, because he thought this is going to be the inception of the Cybermen in this parallel universe.
That's fair enough.
So
I
you
think
don't
it's
need the backstory of all this stuff. You basically get to watch them start from scratch without actually overwriting
Yeah.
the original continuity. But he said, obviously, the big thing with the Cybermen in the 60s was that that was like the era where there were fears of like organ replacement and stuff like that. Where those weren't necessarily societal fears that were as relevant in the 21st century.
Yeah, no.
So he wanted to focus on the fact that the upgrade of a human into a Cyberman basically gave people immortality at the cost of making them uniform and like emotionless,
Yeah.
which I guess getting into things like reliance on technology and stuff is a bit more relevant to when this came out.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily the fear of, oh no, having my organ swapped out and people stealing my kidneys, but more like, you know, what we take for convenience and what it costs us.
Yeah. That's fair enough.
Which I feel like
I think it's still relevant.
has aged quite well, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. But with that in mind, should we get into it?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So the episode begins. We're in a laboratory. We see Dr. Kendrick. He's examining some kind of metal humanoid thing. It's a Cyberman. And
I quite like how they don't show us. It's kind of that bright light and they're out of focus. I like that.
yeah,
Yeah, I think it's...
it reminds me of those shots you see like when people have like been abducted by aliens.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. So he's examining this Cyberman and he says, "It's alive."
Very Frankenstein.
Yes. And then his boss, John Lumick, played by Roger Lloyd Pack, he's a man restricted to a wheelchair, and he pops out. He seems very proud of this little Cyberman.
Yeah. He said, yeah, he says... What did he say? Because before he says it's alive, the scientist says like it's on or something, or it's...
Yeah. He says, Yeah, I know what you mean. He says something like it's working or something like that.
Yeah.
And Lumix says,
It's human. Don't you
Yeah.
mean it, like it's alive would be more fitting?
yeah, it's a new form of life, technically. He says, like, that would only apply to a machine. Yeah, so he says, oh, well, I guess it's alive. Yeah, Dr. Kendrick warns him that they basically have to tell the authorities in Geneva because what they've created is technically a new form of life. Lumix says that Geneva will shut down the experiment. Kendrick's like, yeah, but it's kind of my responsibility to tell them.
Yeah.
And Lumix like, oh yeah, and how will you do that? From beyond the grave. And then he goes, kill him, and then the Cyberman just like grabs him on the shoulder and electrocutes him. And then Lumix tells his staff to set sail for Great Britain.
I'm not gonna lie. So I sat down to watch this,
Yes.
and at this point I went, "Oh no." I was like,
I thought I liked this one.
yeah, I was like, I did not remember this.
In general, it's like it obviously gets the setup for Lumix is experimenting. He's, this thing about Geneva creating a new form of life. All that kind of sets up stuff for the story. But yeah, I get the impression the Roger Lloyd Pack didn't know what the tone was.
He was hamming it up.
He was.
Oh,
Yes.
I know. I was like, oh no, please.
From beyond the grave.
I was like, I could be very wrong, but I got that sense of like, has this man seen Doctor Who?
I don't know.
And if
I
he
say
has,
that
has he
has to be
seen
a line.
old?
That's a line though. That's like you got to imagine. How do you deliver that line without it being hammy? Can you?
Yeah.
Well, how will you do that from beyond the grave?
Yeah.
How? Go on, do it. Give us a performance.
I don't act. I never have.
I don't know how you could deliver that without it being goofy. Because people don't talk like that.
Yeah, but do you mean?
That's how people talk in Universal monster movies.
The issue is his cadence has gone up.
No, it's gone down.
Oh
Beyond the grave.
It just, do you know, I would just be, I don't like this.
Anyway.
It would be more like, how would you do that from beyond the grave? Like a bit more.
That was funnier than what he did.
Fuck you, man.
That's funnier than what he did because he said it's so matter of fact. No one listening to this will be able to see, but she waved her arms in a way that was so matter of fact.
Well, that's what I mean. You've got that's the part that makes it more scary.
No, you just don't write a line this silly.
Well, no, you don't. You don't.
Because none of the rest of the episode is this goofy. Okay, I'm curious to see where you're going with this, but okay. I think that's just our pre-titles, right?
Yes, that is.
Yeah. So we get that's our cold open. We get our titles. Still stuck with the silver logo. And then we come back inside the TARDIS. Rose and the Doctor are laughing about some kind of previous adventure they had.
I've literally put the opening with a joke that doesn't give you the punchline or nobody understands again.
Yeah, I know. I hate that trope.
I know, and it...
Yeah.
If we had a bingo card, maybe we should, of Russell's tropes, which I will come
Russell.
to.
This isn't Russell.
Fine, I will come to this later, because
Yeah.
I've noted something.
Right.
And neither of them were written by Russell, but they were, well, one of them was, I think. But there's a recurring thing.
There is a recurring thing during Russell's era that people point out, and that's that it's not even Russell himself, because it's just episodes in his era.
Yeah.
But a lot of things blow up. A lot of things explode. You think of like Henrik's in Rose. You think of obviously the Earth in the End of the World, the building in The Unquiet Dead, Downing Street in Aliens of London. So everything explodes in Russell's era.
Yeah, I hadn't noticed that, but yes. If building or spaceship
and there is a big
blows
explosion at the end of this one.
up. There is, indeed.
Yeah. There's an explosion at the end of School Reunion.
God, no.
Yeah.
But yes, so I just feel bad for Mickey.
Yeah, so the Doctor and Rose are laughing about this adventure, and then Mickey's standing there at the TARDIS console, and he's like holding a button down, and he's kind of like trying to laugh along. He's like, so where was this then? And the Doctor just goes, it was just this. No, you kind of had to be there.
God, the Doctor's being such a prick.
Yeah, he is. The Doctor's been such an asshole.
This episode, again, didn't realise it before. He is such a douche.
Rose as well.
Yeah, but that's Rose. Do you mean you expect better from the doctor? Rose is Rose.
Not this doctor.
I know, but that's what makes me so sad. But yeah, I just
yeah. So
and then he's
the doctor says like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "You told me to hold this down."
And then he just looks at him. He's like, "Oh."
He's like, "You can let go now." And he's like, "How long has it been since I could have let go?" And he's like, "Oh, like 10 minutes, 15, 29."
Oh.
And you're like, you forgot about me again. And you're just like, oh man, justice for Mickey. I know Mickey was a goofball in the beginning, but Mickey's come around. He's the only good person on this ship right now.
I know. It's so sad.
Yeah, I know, especially after like all the help he's given as well. Because at this point, he helped out in school reunion. Granted, he didn't do much in The Girl in the Fireplace, but he helped out.
Neither did Rose, to be quite frank.
Fair enough. But he helped out in Christmas Invasion. He helped out in Parting of the Ways. He helped out in Aliens of London. He's proven himself at this point.
Quite frankly, other than the big thing at the end of season 1, he's done more than Rose has to help.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
All she's done is hinder.
Yeah. But at this point, there's a massive explosion, and the TARDIS kind of shakes and crashes.
I laugh because oxygen masks fall from the ceiling.
Yes. I mean, they're always there. They are always on set. You could see them more in series 1. But yeah, they are always up there. That's not even just like a gag for this.
I know, but I'm just saying, it just makes me laugh that, health and safety.
Yeah. So the console room has like a blackout, like the normal like bluey green light in the center console. That's all gone down. And all the mechanisms shut down. And the Doctor basically says that the TARDIS has fallen out of the time vortex. It's dead. He says it's the last TARDIS in existence. And it's dead. It can't be fixed. And Rose says, like, can't we call for help? And he's like, who are we going to call? We're nowhere. We're in the void. We're in nothingness.
We're in the silent realm.
Yeah. Yeah. And Mickey goes, otherwise known as London.
That is most certainly not the silent realm.
No.
It's a very noisy realm.
Yeah. So they all head outside, and it appears at first to be normal London. Mickey goes down, grabs a newspaper, and it's like their time, like 2006. He says, yeah, London, nothing out of the ordinary. And the Doctor's like, does that include the Zeppelins?
I love Mickey's reaction. Maybe it's the International Zeppelin Festival.
Yeah, they look around in the sky.
Very quick.
Yeah, they look around in the sky, and they're obviously just like blimps like everywhere. Other than that, it looks like normal London.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Mickey works out that they must be in like a parallel universe. He says, with things pretty much exactly the same, but not quite. This isn't mentioned in the episode, but I just thought I'd share this with you, because when you get into like extended universe stuff, there's so many like terminology and like different phrases and stuff. N for November, is what in the Doctor Who universe people used to refer to the primary universe.
Okay.
So the Doctor's universe, our universe, is N space. Like I say, it doesn't come up in this episode, but when I was doing some research, I just kept it's basically they're referred to as N space and Pete's world.
Aw, Pete's world.
Yeah. So just in case in the future I ever happen to say N space or Pete's world, that's the context.
Every time you say N space, I keep thinking of NSYNC.
Well, that's a you problem. Yeah.
They are linked. We do have NSYNC in N space.
Yes. We might not have NSYNC in Pete's world.
We might not.
Yeah. But anyway, Rose sees a nearby advertisement where she can see that her father, Pete Tyler, is still alive. And this time he's successful.
By selling pop.
Yeah. Vitex. It's not pop, it's a health drink. Well, actually,
it is pop.
He does say later on it is pop, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, he's got more money but less hair in this world. So do with that what you will. And he has more life as well, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, not on this billboard. He kind of like gives a thumbs up. You can trust me on this.
And then he's like, thumbs up.
Yeah.
Pete Cooper. No, not Pete Cooper. Well,
Pete Cooper?
Well, that's what I'm calling him now.
Where'd you get Cooper from?
Dale Cooper.
Right, okay. Oh, the thumbs up.
The
right.
thumbs
okay.
up,
Okay.
yeah.
I see what you did. Right. Okay. I thought you were just being silly.
No. Well, yes.
Well, yes, but I thought you made a goof. I didn't think you were.
I did make a
making
goof.
I didn't think you were making a joke. I see.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So we now cut to a nice big house, big mansion, and we see Pete's car pull up at the house.
Called Pete 1.
Well, this was something I did make a note about. The front number plate and the back number plate are completely different. The front number plate says Pete 1. The back number plate is just a normal reg number. So either continuity error or Pete has two different registrations for the same car.
Either that or he has the actual... He puts Pete 1 on like the... What you call it? The grill? Or the front?
The bumper. Yeah.
And then he puts the actual one in the window.
He's one of those.
In the front.
Yeah. So yeah, he pulls up to his mansion, and we basically find out that Pete is planning Jackie's birthday party for later that night. And this is when he gets a call on his brand new 2006 earpods. Boy, for something that's supposed to be really futuristic, do they look naff?
Yes.
They don't look
They look
sleek and cool.
Chunky.
They look chunky, grey. Not even silver, they're grey. Yeah.
I guess they couldn't be like too in the ear though, could they?
What?
Like they couldn't be too like sleek and invisible.
Well, no, like, they don't have to be like skinny, but like you at least make them like shiny or something. They're just kind of like grey. They
enough.
look cheap. I don't know. They look plastic. I guess they are plastic, but like, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, Pete gets a call on his earpods from John Lumick. This is like they're talking about Jackie's birthday. It's her 40th, which I'm pretty sure is meant to be a reference to the fact that this episode aired on the 40th anniversary of the 10th planet.
You mean it's her 39th?
Well, this is the thing. Yeah. That comes a little later. But yeah, no, does it?
Comes now. As he enters the house.
Does it? Or does he speak to Jackie before he gets the call?
I believe.
Yeah, because she comes in and she has a go at him. He's like, "What have I done now?" And she takes him to the sign that says like "Happy 40th" or whatever. He's like, "What's wrong with that?" She's like, "40." He's like, "Well, you are 40." He's like, "Yeah, but I don't want the whole world knowing."
She's like, my what's it called? My biography. Sorry.
My biography.
I don't know whether that's the right word.
I don't know what you're talking about.
A book about me.
Like a memoir?
No, by...
A biography?
Yeah.
An autobiography?
Yeah. Her biography says that she is 39. She was born the same year as somebody else.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just...
Weren't we all?
I guess.
Didn't think of that, did you?
I guess we were.
Yeah. But yeah, she's kind of... she's peeved because she wants everyone to think she's 39. And the banner says she's 40. And then she shows off that she's got a pair of earpods too from Lumick.
Diamond encrusted.
Diamond encrusted, latest model. Yeah. And then she goes, "Rose!" and then walks upstairs. And we find out that Rose is a dog.
I love what she says. Like, where is she? She needs a bath before tonight, or she's going to be honking. It's like, oh.
Goes to show no matter how much money she gets, Jackie Tyler is still a Londoner at heart.
I love she says, "Trust you to cock it up." She walks in. It's like, she hasn't changed.
Yeah. So yeah, but when Pete starts talking to Lumick on the earpods, he thanks for Jackie's birthday present. Lumick basically says his plans have advanced and he's gonna meet him that evening for a meeting with the president. Pete says like, "I can't. It's my wife's birthday," and Lumick's just like, "Hey, if the president can make this meeting, then so can you." I'm like, yeah, and Pete says like, "Yeah, but Jackie's not his wife, is he?"
Fair.
But yeah, they end the call, and then afterwards, Lumick hacks into Jackie's earpods to gain security information.
Yeah.
For her birthday party, she doesn't seem to notice.
No, she does doing blush,
because the earpods like start beeping, and then a little handle thing pops out. Yeah, and so she's kind of like, she looks a bit hypnotized as it's getting all this information, and then it just kind of, when he's done, it just stops and she just goes back to normal as if nothing happened. And at this point, Lumic calls his associate Mr. Crane, and he says he needs extra staff for his plans. Crane, sketchy dude, he parks a lorry near a group of homeless people, and he tells them he's got food in the back of his truck. Why? Why? I know why, but like, that's awful.
It is. I want to make a note here as well that the music in the scene where like Lumic, is that his name?
I've said it a million times.
I know it was said so many times in the episode, cannot remember it.
Yes, Lumic.
It's so over the top. It's so over the top. I'm like, okay, we get it.
Is it the Cyberman theme at this point?
I don't know.
Is it the...
I don't know. I'm not sure. I didn't take that much notice. I just noted, God, this is... And he's like,
ominous.
Ma.
Yeah.
It's like, I wonder who the bad guy is.
Yeah, so we see a bunch of homeless people anyway, like packing into the back of this truck. And then we see a young guy that we come to know as Jake later on. He tries to stop this one man from getting in. And he says, don't go in. You know, haven't you noticed people have been disappearing? It's them. They lure you in with food and then take you off. And he's like, what for? He's like, experiments. And I feel so bad. The guy goes, I'm so hungry. And just runs off into the truck. And the door shuts, Crane drives off, and then you can just hear people screaming in the back.
Well, the one guy that Jake was talking to like tries to escape and they like yank him in.
Yeah.
My question is to you. Would you get into a lorry that turns up and a load of men in white suits get out and they're like, get into the lorry for free food?
I wouldn't get into the lorry no matter what they were wearing.
No, well, I know, but do you mean if I think you'd be a bit more likely if they were like, you know.
I mean, Jake gives him the heads up just in case he was thick and didn't put two and two together, but I guess he's so hungry he's willing to risk it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this scene, something interesting here is this scene actually has, it had an extended kind of ending that they cut in the final version. Mr. Crane, before he drives off, basically spots Jake and he kind of mocks his attempts to gather evidence. And he says that Cybers Industries basically owns any organization he might want to give the recording to anyway. And then Jake runs away as Mr. Crane just kind of laughs. But Russell asked for this kind of like end bit to be cut down because he thought it was a bit too cartoonish.
Fair.
So, yeah.
That was a bit too cartoonish.
He knows where to draw the line sometimes. Meanwhile, the Doctor has found... he's talking to Mickey, I think, inside the TARDIS.
Yeah, he is.
And he sees like a small light. And he's like, what's that? And he looks over and he finds like the smallest, teeniest, tiniest part that's still alive. It's like a little like seedling or something. I don't really know what it is.
He calls
like
it...
a crystal.
He calls it like a cell, doesn't he?
Yeah. But yeah, it's still alive. It's kind of like blinking. It's the only light in the ship. And he kind of like blows on it and then the light gets brighter. He says, I just gave away 10 years of my life.
He's very okay with that.
Yeah. But yeah, he basically says that the reason the TARDIS is dead is because it draws power from the universe. But because of where they are, they're not in end space.
Yes.
They are in the wrong place. So to charge it, when he breathes on it, he's given a little bit of him from his universe, if that makes sense, to recharge the ship. But he says it's going to take around 24 hours. So since they got a day to kill, they're like, why don't we just have an explore?
Well, I like the fact that Mickey and the Doctor are having a chat about things, and the Doctor's basically saying that he's going to have to keep he tells Mickey to keep an eye on Rose.
Yes.
And, make sure she doesn't do anything. And Mickey's like, well, what about me? And he's like, And he's like, he's overlooked again. But I've put it down as more trusted.
Well, Mickey?
Yeah.
Well,
I think he trusts...
I guess he is. Like, the Doctor trusts Mickey. He just is so self-obsessed.
I think so. But
I don't think he thinks Mickey's useless anymore. I just think he's so self-obsessed he forgets he's there. Yeah,
but I think also kind of in that, but also in the same thing of... He knows Mickey is unlikely to go off into a parallel universe and stuff something up. Whereas Rose, on the other hand, is very likely to do that and meddle in things that she shouldn't be meddling with.
Yeah. But when, yeah, you're right, though, because when Mickey says, like, what about me? And the doctor's like, well, I can't worry about everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Just let
so
Mickey
sad.
know he's loved.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, since they've got to wait 24 hours, he agrees to let Rose and Mickey basically have a wander. Rose says her phone automatically connected to the Cybers network, and she looked up the parallel version of her parents. She noticed she doesn't have her own duplicate because the two of them never had kids. There's a thing here. I know it's when Rose is watching like the Cybers Industries like Zeppelin. Her phone is like set to the news, and it features a reporter who mentions Torchwood. So that's our Torchwood sort of reference. There's a thing here that I noticed, and it's kind of ruined this sequence for me. And this is, you know, when her phone connects to the network, and then it says like, it's like the welcome screen of the Cybers network sort of free trial on Rose's phone. And then she gets like, it looks like her phone's downloading news, sports, and all that stuff. You can tell that these are photos that have been put onto the phone. And when the screen is like changing, she's just cycling through the photos. Because when she's on the like free trial, like welcome to Cybers network thing, you can see it's actually a video file, like an MP4 or something. And the title says welcome.jpg at the top. And then you can see it's item number 15 in the folder called Cybers. And when she's getting information, you can see when it keeps cycling through new things, as if her phone's like downloading stuff, you can see the number 15 goes 16, 17, 18, and you can see whoever's holding the phone is clearly just cycling through photos.
Yeah.
It's kind of ruined it for me.
I did not notice that.
Yeah, it happens again later, you know, when they're walking down the street and everyone with
they get all the
earpods
downloads.
stops. Yeah, it happens there as well. And it's because it says like sports, and you can see the dots going. It goes like dot, 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 dot. And every time that happens, you can tell you can see the phone shaking where someone's pressing the buttons.
Oh.
Yeah, it's, yeah. So next time you watch the episode, look out for that. And yeah, you'll never unsee it. Sorry. But anyway, yeah, back to the episode. Rose says she wants to see her father. And the doctor says, no matter how many times she tells her he's not your dad, she don't care.
No. Again, shouldn't be trusted.
Yeah. So she goes to walk off, and Mickey goes to walk off as well. And the doctor's like, hey, both of you, come here right now. And Mickey's like, yeah, you can't come after both of us. And let's be honest, if you're going to go after one of us, it's not going to be me, is it?
Yeah.
And the doctor looks at him, and then 180s and runs after Rose.
Well, he says, like, what have you got to look for, or something like that? Or what are you looking for? And Mickey says, like, you know nothing, you don't know anything about me, do you?
Yeah.
And then he said, I'm just a spare part, which... spare part?
Yeah.
No.
Tin dog.
Tin dog.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. So the doctor turns and runs after Rose, proving his point. And he says to Mickey, meet back here in, what did he say, half hour or something like that?
Something like that.
Meet here in whatever.
Oh, no, because they were there for like 48 hours, 24 hours, 24 hours, weren't they?
That's how long they've got to wait, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it was like something like that.
But he says, yeah, meet back at the TARDIS in however long. And Mickey says, yeah, sure. As long as I don't find something better first.
Yeah, it's like, oh.
Yeah. So, sadness. The doctor catches up to Rose, and they talk about Mickey. And this is when I think they actually kind of, I don't know, maybe realise that they're taking him for granted a little bit. She says that he was raised by his grandmother after he was abandoned by his parents.
I noted something she says here which made me quite laugh. She was like, great woman. She used to slap him. I was like, is there a link, or is there's two things that you know about his gran?
Yeah.
Great woman,
yeah.
used to slap
him. Was there
him.
a full stop or a comma there?
Yeah.
Changes the tone.
The way she says she used to slap him, though, she's got such a smirk, not a smirk, but like laughing about it. And I'm like, oh, poor Mickey.
Yeah.
His poor man was like left by his parents.
Yeah, well, you can't complain about it hurting either, because otherwise Rose would say he's gay.
Oh.
Remember when she did that?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Rose says that his grandmother died a few years ago after tripping on a piece of carpet that Mickey forgot to fix. Falling down the stairs and all that stuff. Yeah, they kind of realize, I think, that they take Mickey for granted. And at this point, they see the crowd of people basically freeze as the AirPods they're wearing start downloading information directly into their brains. This is when Rose like pulls out her phone again, and she can see that her phone is doing the same thing. And it's like downloading all the updates. The technology, will say, piques the Doctor's interest. So he uses Rose's phone to discover that the earpods are manufactured by Cyberst Industries, who also own Pete's company, Vitex. So even though he's told Rose like a million times, no, we can't go see Pete, now he's got an agenda. All of a sudden, it's like, oh,
go see Pete.
That's the thing. He acts like he's like, all right, fine, I give up, as if like she wore him down. It's like, no, you just have a stake in this now.
Yeah, you're interested in this.
He's such a dick. Honestly.
He is. Throughout this episode, I've noted
such a gaslighting shit.
He is.
Yeah. So yeah, the Doctor agrees to go to Jackie's birthday party. Since the president and other high-profile guests will be there. So he may be able to learn more about the pods and stuff. Mickey is exploring parallel London himself on his own. He goes to a street. He goes up like one end of a street, and he gets kind of like called over by like a soldier at a checkpoint who tells him that there's a curfew.
What is with that?
What do you mean?
Why is there a curfew? That's never mentioned again.
No, I guess it's just a way to establish that it's different.
Because you seem to, like, when I first watched that, and even when I kind of rewatched it, I was like, oh, there's like an
totalitarianism.
Yeah. I was like, oh, like the lower classes. He even says, have you been up with like the...
Yeah, he looks up at the Zeppelins and he's like, oh, are you up with them lot or something? Does it come into play later when they're going around in the dark? You know, when they're sneaking around, do they ever have to like sneak past guards? I can't remember. I don't think so.
I don't think it ever comes up again.
No, maybe it's just a way to establish that clearly things are different and Mickey's a bit out of his depth, I guess.
But even then, Jimmy, I don't know. It just seems weird, like that.
It doesn't like cause any issues. It's not like a plot.
It doesn't. No, but I know
what you mean. Though. It does feel like a needless addition. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the soldier tells him there's a curfew, so he's like, all right, and he just turns around and walks away. He goes over to Waterton Street, and he knocks on number 1, and the woman opens the door. It's Rita Ann Smith, Mickey's grandmother. She's a blind old lady. She's still alive.
And she's got earbuds as well.
Who doesn't? I made a note about this later. Well, everyone does. Yeah, there's also a bit here where, she's blind. She's got like the typical blind people glasses on. And I saw the guy who holds the boom mic reflected in her glasses.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
And I was like, oh no, I'm noticing so many continuity errors. But yeah, Mickey's obviously speechless. She rants that she's not going to be kidnapped like the other people and all that stuff. And
then she finds out it's Mickey, and then not slaps him, she's like, bashes him.
Yeah, he says like, it's me. And yeah, she calls him Ricky. And he's like, it's Mickey. And she's like, I know my own grandson's name. It's Ricky.
Yeah.
He's like, all right. I'll be Ricky.
I think this is such, like, this episode, when I remembered it, this is like the kind of moments I remembered.
The character stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the Mickey stuff.
Yeah.
I think the best part of this is Mickey.
Yeah, no, I agree, I think. Yeah.
And like I love how like he's obviously speaking to his nan, and like the camera just pans a little bit and you see like the torn carpet on the stairs.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God, like.
Yeah, well, obviously it does come up because when she knows it's Mickey/Ricky, she's like delighted to get a visit because you get the impression that she hasn't seen him in a while. He just disappears. She does slap him.
Yeah, she does.
For taking off and not saying anything. But yeah, you're right. Mickey notices the carpet on the stairs.
And he's kind of like, it's like sweet, but he's like, I told you to get that fixed. And it's like, oh,
yeah, and
God.
he's like, Noel Clarke does a good job of like, he's like talking, but you can tell he's welling up. He's got like not tears in his eyes, but like, I don't know.
It's like a the raspiness in his voice.
Yeah,
isn't it?
you can tell he's on the verge of crying.
Yeah, it's like, it's really heartbreaking.
Yeah, but he says, you know, you'll fall and break your neck if you don't get it fixed. And he calls himself useless for not having done it sooner.
Yeah.
She tells him not to talk that way, and she invites him in for a cup of tea.
And then he's kidnapped.
And then a big blue van shows up.
Again, got past the guards really easily, didn't it? And the barrier.
I guess we don't know where that thing was set up.
Well, no, because Mickey goes under the barrier to get into the area with the curfew. You said he walks away. He doesn't. He goes under and goes into it.
Does he?
He does.
I thought he just walks away.
Nope. He goes into the area.
Maybe I was making a note at that point. I don't know.
So
a big blue van shows up, and Mickey gets abducted by two people. Jake, that we met before, and Mrs. Moore.
Oh, I love Mrs. Moore.
Our token Welsh person of the episode. They tell him off for putting his gran in danger by visiting her. Jake says, like, that's your own rule, you know, don't go visiting loved ones. So in his Zeppelin, Lumic is in a meeting with the president, and he announces his newest project, which is putting the human brain inside a metal exoskeleton, something he calls the ultimate upgrade. The president pretty much rightfully just refuses to give permission for Lumic to carry out his plans, and he leaves the meeting, and I think he says to Pete that he's like going to see him later at Jackie's party or something.
Yeah.
At this point, Lumic calls Mr. Crane, who is controlling the homeless people that we saw get kidnapped earlier. They've all got their ear pods in now, and they're kind of like hypnotized. He's like, turn left, and they all turn left. Turn right, they all turn right.
It's like, are you having fun with this, Crane?
Yeah, he's like, well, sorry, I couldn't resist.
He's like, well, do.
Well, resist. He's really hamming this up.
He's so hamming it up.
Yeah. But Lumic tells him to start the upgrade. So Crane sends people into the conversion chambers.
He just marches them to their death.
Yeah, and he starts playing.
Well, he hears the scream.
In the jungle.
Yeah, he hears the screams. And you see that, like, CG...
Yeah, the weird, like, scissor arm things flying down and going snip, snip, snip.
And he's like, oh. And he turns to, like, a technician. It's like, play song, like, this song.
They start playing The Lion Sleeps Tonight, don't they?
Yeah, and he's just standing there dancing.
In the jungle, the mighty jungle. Again, weird choice.
Such a weird tone. Yeah.
Weird choice of song. Yeah. So later on, we're back at the Tyler mansion, and the Doctor and Rose are infiltrating the party. I can't remember if Rose asked like how they're going to get in or something, but the Doctor just waves his psychic paper. And when we cut to them inside, they're disguised as catering staff.
It's just like, we could have been anyone.
Yeah, she's annoyed at she was annoyed in school reunion because she was a dinner lady, and now she's annoyed again because she's a waitress.
Yeah.
She's like, we could have been anyone. We could have been guests. And the Doctor says, yeah, well, if you want to know anything, you need access to the kitchens.
Which is very true.
Yeah. So, I think the staff are more likely to just be a bit more forthcoming than the guests would anyway.
Well, that's the thing. With staff, you can kind of walk around and kind of listen in on different conversations as you're giving out hors d'oeuvres without...
drawing attention to yourself. Yeah.
So he is right, but it is...
Yeah.
Rose
just wants the lavish lifestyle.
She does.
Yeah.
She just does want that.
The Doctor mentions that Lucy, one of the waitresses, pointed out one of the guys as the president of Great Britain.
Rose says...
Rose does not like Lucy.
No, Rose says, well, maybe Lucy's thick.
Yeah, well, Rose like, who's Lucy? And he's like, over there, the lady there. And she went, what, Britain's got a president, not a prime minister? And the doctor's like, apparently so. And she goes, or maybe Lucy's just a bit thick. It's like, oh no, the doctor talked to another woman. Jesus, Rose.
To be fair, though, not that I'm saying that people don't know about this are thick, but I did have an encounter in Tesco's going back a few weeks ago where I'd probably say about a 10, 12-year-old child who wouldn't know much about politics.
Yeah.
Saw a Boris Johnson book on the shelf and turned to his dad and said, "Isn't that the president of the UK?"
Oh.
And he went, "No." He was the prime minister, not anymore. His kid was like, "All right," just walked off.
What is he, 3 prime ministers ago now?
Well, do you know what? I respect the child for knowing that he was a politician.
Right.
I give him that.
Not just knowing him as the man from the memes.
Yeah. Fair.
Yeah.
Is that the one who has the blue shampoo?
The one who wanted to bring back the nice blue passports. Yeah. So Rose goes to talk to Pete, and she's talking to him on like the balcony outside, and she learns that his marriage is kind of on the rocks. He like they have this really nice conversation, and then Pete kind of just like pulls himself back for a second and is like, "Wait, why am I telling you this?"
Yeah, because she asks him like how long he's been married to Jackie, and he's like, "Oh, 20 years now." And he's like, "Oh, but not anymore."
Yeah.
He's like, "Never had children, and now we're getting a divorce," which again reference to like Father's Day, of obviously, like you said.
Yeah.
That kind of bond between the two of them, and him being like, "I don't know why I can talk to you so easily."
Yeah.
I'd just like to cut to another point.
Right.
So Mickey has been taken to the secret hideout.
Yeah.
And as they enter the room, because they see a light on, and they seem to think that they've been compromised in some way. Somebody's in there. They're going to get them.
Yes.
And then we find Ricky,
yes.
at the other end.
Yes.
And it just made me laugh, because they're like, "Who are you?" And then they're obviously thinking about what maybe...
Well, Jake says, what are you doing there? And then Ricky goes, "What am I doing here? What am I doing there?"
The way he says, he's like, "There."
Yeah. Yeah, because at that point they grab Mickey, don't they?
Yeah, and because we have the scene where the doctor finds out that Jackie has called her dog Rose.
Yes.
And laughs.
Love that bit.
And
yes.
straight after that point, we cut back to Mickey now in his underpants being tied to a chair.
Now who's jumping around?
I'm jumping around now because that's how it felt. I watched it. I was like, wait a minute. What is happening? And then I'm like, oh, they're scanning him for bugs. Okay, fair enough. But I was like, what happens in those frames?
Yeah, we'll get to the pants in a minute. But yeah, we were talking about Pete and obviously how he opened up to Rose and everything. And she asks him a question, and I think he gets a bit uncomfortable, and he kind of finds an excuse to leave. And is it the president he talks to, or just some other guy? I can't remember. But he gets up to talk to someone else, and he says, "How's Torchwood?" So, yeah, we got another one.
Do you know, both those Torchwood references I completely missed.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's quite subtle in this one. Like, Bad Wolf is obviously a focusing point in every time it appears. Like, the most subtle one is probably either the Mox of Balhoun talking about the Bad Wolf scenario, or like the Bad Wolf TV in The Long Game, maybe. But like in here, yeah, it's like, other than obviously like Tooth and Claw, they're all, I think, quite subtle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shall we cut to Mickey in the chair before we jump back to the other stuff?
Yeah, sure.
So, yeah, Mickey,
so he's restrained. He's tied to a chair.
They've checked him for bugs. He hasn't got any.
Yeah.
And they were saying that how similar they look.
Yes.
And they're saying, "Oh, you've got to be brothers. It's got to be something, like your DNA's the same."
Yeah.
And he said, "You've got to be brothers. Either that or your father had a bike."
I love lines like that.
I did as well.
I know
I just
this. I
sat
know
there with
this
a
isn't a
smirk.
Russell episode, but that is so something that
That
Russell
is
would
so
write.
something Russell would write. It did make me
Yeah.
chuckle quite a lot. Another note I made is there's a point where Mickey is being interrogated by Ricky,
Yes.
and something maybe you probably wouldn't find very weird, but I noticed that the person that Ricky was speaking to looks nothing like Noel Clark.
Oh, really?
No.
Right.
I was like,
okay.
who are they talking to?
You notice these things a lot, don't you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you notice other stuff, but yeah, I was like,
I noticed the fact that Rose's phone was just cycling through photos, but yeah.
yeah, I'm like, that ain't Mickey. Who is that?
Yeah.
But yeah.
They're trying to interrogate Mickey, but it's funny because he seems to get more information out of them than the other way around.
Yeah.
He's like, who are you? And they say that they are the Preachers. They've been investigating Cybers Industries with the help of an inside agent. And the contact has told them that a group of upgrades is leaving the Cybers factory. And I guess eventually they basically just get in the van and they head off to tail the truck, and they take Mickey with them. Back at the party, Rose starts like a friendly conversation with Jackie and says like, do you want to, is it champagne she offers her? And
Yeah.
she's like, I don't know. And then she's like, want a nice cup of tea? And she's like, oh yeah, I could do with that. Yeah. And Rose comes on a bit strong, doesn't she?
This is one massive gripe I have with this episode. It doesn't feel like Rose has learned anything. It feels like she's completely reverted.
Is this an episode problem or is this a Rose Tyler problem?
This is an episode problem because I feel like in the past two episodes she would have matured past this point. You think after Father's Day she would have learned her lesson, do you know what I mean? And I know she's in a different universe.
Well, break this down. Which lesson do you think she should have learned?
One, these different people, even whether it's your same parents from your same universe, they are different people at this point. They don't know you. And revealing who you are is only going to create issues. Do you know what I mean? You're not here to mess things up, whether that's telling them that you've come from the future or telling them that you've come from a different parallel universe. Do you know what I mean? Keep your mouth stum, Rose.
Yeah.
Stop talking to people. Do you know what I mean? It just annoys me so much because she could have genuinely just had a nice little chat.
Lovely chat, yeah.
And
she has to go, he's worth another try.
And do you know,
Are you commenting on my marriage?
you're just staff.
Yeah, and you're not getting paid.
Fair. Honestly, fair. And it's like, why wouldn't you? You know your own mother. Of course she's going to react that way. You're commenting on, again, by the way, something that Peter's just told you that they're keeping secret.
Yeah.
You're commenting
I know.
publicly on the failure of their marriage and
Yeah.
telling her to give him another chance.
Also just outing Pete for having told you.
Yeah, and also, you don't know. Pete may have been the one to call off the marriage.
Yeah.
It's like, why would you do that? And it's like, I just hate it. Sometimes Rose has conversations with characters and it's brilliant.
I know what you mean.
This is not it.
I don't see this as a fault of this episode, though. I just see this as another flaw of Rose's character.
Completely disagree. Poorly written. Poorly written. I know that's the whole point.
Because I don't think Rose is out of character in this episode compared to the rest in this series.
I think
This seems very fitting with who she is.
yes, but I would have liked to have seen growth at this point. Do you mean this isn't the same Rose we picked up in Rose?
No.
This is she's gone on so much with the Doctor. I know this is a new Doctor, but she was literally told by this Doctor not to meddle with anything.
But the thing,
And yet she's not learned her lesson, and I don't like. It would have felt more if she kind of was like a shoulder to cry on, kind of, and not like prodding too much.
Well, I know this comes into play a lot because people talk about 10 Rose being like a more of a romantic pairing. But the 10th Doctor never really holds Rose accountable. Do you know what I mean? Rose messes up a lot. She
Yeah.
makes a lot of mistakes, and the 9th Doctor always put her in her place. And she felt like she let him down.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then she felt guilty, and then she learned her lessons because of that. Do you know what I mean? You think of like in Father's Day, when I think she does learn her lesson in that, and the doctor says, "Just tell me you're sorry," and she says, "I am," and at least I do. I get the sense she genuinely means it.
Yeah.
But the 10th Doctor never puts her in her place because he's just as bad.
I agree.
So he makes these rules. Oh, you can't talk to her. She's not your mother. She's not. He's not your father, and all that stuff. But she never cocks up, and then have him lambast her. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't happen in the same way that 9 did.
No, but I think that's because, and I know this is going to be a spicy take. I don't think they love each other.
Right. Okay.
I think they're both so narcissistic.
They love themselves.
They love themselves, and the two of them allow each other to love themselves. I think they aren't with people who say, you only care about yourself, which will bring them down. So they basically enable each other to be terrible people, and therefore they're happy in each other's presence.
I think she does love the Doctor, but I would agree.
You don't get a sense of love with it. It's kind of like she's comfortable. She can be whoever she wants with this Doctor. The other one she couldn't. She had to be better. And this one she doesn't.
But again, that kind of comes full circle. Like I say, I think she's worse in series 2. Not because of, I know I've said I don't like how they're all just cutesy coupley all the time, but that's not the sole reason. It's the fact that Rose is an insufferable character in this season when she wasn't in series 1. In series 1, she was flawed for sure, and she had issues, but I understood why all the time. And again, she had a Doctor who would hold her accountable. Do you know what I mean? If she made a mistake, she had to own up to it, and she had to learn from that mistake. Where, because the 10th Doctor doesn't do that, you're right, she's allowed to just basically be the worst version of herself.
But I think it's the same with him.
Yeah, it is. I agree. But I basically agree with everything you said. The only disagreement I have, I do think she loves the Doctor. I think she holds him in a very high
I do, yeah. I think she holds him in a high esteem, but I don't think it's like she truly loves him. She doesn't have and maybe it's just the way it's written, maybe it's I'm not picking up on things, but it doesn't seem that kind of admiration and deep caring she had for 9, she doesn't seem to have here. It's just superficial. Yeah. It's just surface. They
just have that energy of that couple that got together and just do way too much like PDA.
Yeah.
You don't get the sense that they're
I don't even feel like they're that couple that got together. I feel like they're that couple that kind of everybody knows are kind of doing stuff behind the scenes, but they're not an item.
The friends of benefits.
Yeah. And it's okay, we get it. You're not a couple, but you are.
It's as if they don't love each other, but they're infatuated with each other. Does that make sense? They're they like the idea of each other more than what they actually are.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think, it just makes, this moment made me sad. It just made me sad.
Yeah. Yeah, the Doctor, he sneaks into Pete's office and he's going through the Cyber Industries files. The name Cybus and the emphasis on cybernetics and brains seem to click something in his mind. At that moment, Lumix upgrades arrive and the Doctor recognizes them. He sees them coming through the window and he knows them as a new form of Cybermen. One of the windows shatters and the Cybermen kind of flood into the house. They're kind of herding the guests into the and the staff, I guess, together into the main sort of
hall entrance.
Is it a hall? Is it a room? It's too big to be a hall.
It's it's like an entrance way, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just sorry to cut you off. One note, which was quite a large note I made here.
Yeah.
So I thought the Cybermen were quite scary. We hadn't seen anything really of them until this point. We kind of see distance. We'd seen feet. That's about it. The noises,
silhouette shapes.
I think the noise as well, the kind of heavy, deep whirring mechanical sound.
When they walk, they march, don't they? And it kind of makes it like a...
But it's like a... When they do it as well, you can tell the heaviness of them. I think that's so brilliant.
They're very imposing.
They are. And again, the little shot of just the eye that it gives.
Yeah.
Again, brilliant. I hate the fact that this episode where it ends where it does.
In what way? Like, you don't like the cliffhanger itself, or you hate where in the story it ends?
The cliffhanger should be when they're looking out the window and they finally come into view.
Right.
That should be the cliffhanger.
Any particular reason you feel that way?
Because that is the scariest part. And it's like, you've finally seen it now. And it's like, and then it's like, what is that? And then the next episode would then describe the Doctor saying that these are the Cybermen.
So you wouldn't even end it with the Doctor saying they're Cybermen?
No. I'd have them just coming into shot.
I don't know. I could maybe see it ending with the Doctor saying they're Cybermen, new Cybermen, and then ending there. I could maybe see that happening. I can't imagine them just walking into frame and then the episode just cutting.
Because it's like the music is swelling at this point, and like the Doctor and Rose are looking out the window and trying to see what it is, and then they come into shot, and then it's kind of, you hear screaming at that point, because people have noticed. I think that should be the point.
Yeah.
And I have a reason which we'll get to later. Yeah. So as you say, the robots have come into the Cybermen, sorry.
Yeah, they kind of like herd everyone into the hallway, entranceway, whatever you want to call it. And Lumic contacts the president through his earpods.
Yeah.
And the president demands to know who the people were before he did this to them. He says they were homeless people that he'd granted a new life to. Yeah, and basically says, like, this is the future, essentially. Yeah. And then he signs off, leaving the Cybermen in charge. Mm-hmm. One Cyberman steps forward and says they've been upgraded into the next level of humanity and promises the same for all British citizens. The president... the guy who plays the president's really good, I think.
He is, I agree.
He apologises for what's happened to them and says that he won't allow Loomis's experiment to continue anymore. The Cybermen say that upgrading is compulsory, and he says, "What if I refuse?" And the Doctor's like, "No, don't do that." And he's like, "No. What if I refuse?" The Doctor's like, "No, stop, seriously." And he's like, "What if I refuse?" And then he says, "You will be deemed incompatible." And he's like, "And then what? You will be deleted." And then he like just puts his hand on his shoulder, electrocutes him, and just kills him. Yeah. The Doctor warned him like 3 times.
To be fair, he's just waiting staff.
What?
The Doctor's just waiting staff.
Oh right. I thought you meant the president.
No.
So I was like, what?
He's the president. No, the Doctor's just waiting staff.
Yeah, I guess.
The president's like, the president is the president.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, fair enough. Yeah. But after he dies, all the guests and the staff panic, and they kind of scatter in all directions, and there's just a slaughter. The Cybermen just run around and just start killing all of them. Rose, Pete, and the Doctor manage to get outside, where they meet up with Mickey and the Preachers. Ricky and Jake's guns are kind of useless. They're like shooting at the Cybermen and nothing's happening. It's just bouncing off them. And then they start getting surrounded by the Cybermen. The Doctor tells Jake, he's like, your bullets aren't going to do anything. So he basically throws his hands up and surrenders. And he says that they volunteer for the upgrade. But the Cybermen say that they're rogue elements and they are to perish under maximum deletion.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
I thought deletion's what's maximum deletion.
Yeah.
But okay.
I don't know, maybe they incinerate the bodies after.
You're already dead.
I don't know. I don't know.
Do you think? Oh no. I was going to say, do you think it's like, oh, you're deleted and then your body is used for like to become? But that wouldn't work. You need a live brain. Don't listen to me. Just carry on.
Okay. Yeah. The Doctor's like, we surrender, and they're like, nope. And the Doctor's like, but we surrender. And the Cybermen are like, nope, you will be deleted.
And that's the end.
Yeah, and that's the end. Yeah.
Pooh.
I think it's a good cliffhanger.
It's not. It's not that good of a cliffhanger. The other one would have been better. It would have been scarier. And the resolution to this makes me angry.
I think the resolution makes sense.
No.
Maybe this is where we differ. Is this one of your complaints about nothing tying together well? Because this is one of the things I think of where I think of how...
This is one of them, but not the only one.
This is one of the things I think of in terms of how everything is kind of set up.
How does this random little cell
Right. So part 2 starts. The Cybermen are closing in for the kill.
And then the Doctor grabs this cell from his pocket.
Yeah, the cell from the TARDIS that's charging, and he kind of holds out in front of him, and these like beams fire out and kill the Cybermen.
Stupid.
Right.
Ridiculous.
Okay.
Actually stupid. I watched this, I thought, I'm angry.
Why? Why are you angry?
Another MacGuffin.
It's not a MacGuffin.
It is.
It's not.
It is.
It's what they're waiting to charge for the story.
Yeah, and okay, so this thing, how does it hit the Cybermen only?
Oh, well, he points it at him.
No, he just holds it up.
No, he doesn't hold it. He doesn't hold it up. He holds it in front of him.
And then all of them around, because remember, they're surrounded at this point. They're all hit.
The metal?
Maybe, maybe not. I mean, you could argue that. I mean, Pete's currently wearing the headphones.
They're plastic.
They are true. But still, I think this is bullshit.
Right. Okay. You feel passionate about this.
I'm angry. This is poo. And this wouldn't have had to have been a thing if it ended where I said. And it would have been scarier because it would have been like, oh, that's finally the villain. It would have been like all this build up and then it's like finally, and then you get nothing else.
I understand what you mean in terms of that being like an effective, like, oh, we reveal the villain and then that's it.
It's so annoying because we've had the whole episode to ramp them up to be how scary they are. And then they electrocute some people. Then they surround the Doctor, and then he uses this random widget just to zap some of them.
You're being silly.
I'm not being silly.
You are being silly.
And then he goes,
it's not some random widget. It's literally it's the entire like focus on, you know, it's what they're waiting to charge for this. It's kind of like the crux of the story.
Yes, but how? And he goes, and they go, oh, it's used now. And then he goes, oh, it'll take 4 hours to recharge.
Well, yeah, because we're assuming at this point it's been about 4 hours since he started charging it, and he's basically used the power that was in it, so they're kind of back to square one again. That's me. It makes sense to me. What I think of like a random widget, like he just said, would be like if this were a Chris Chibnall episode, the Doctor would just have something in their pocket, it'd be like an EMP bomb or something, and would just like destroy them and just be like, oh, I had this to hand. I happened to make this like 5 years ago. I've been meaning to find a use for this. It would be something like that. Then I'd be like, fair enough.
But it completely takes away the fear of these. Now, I will give it to you, the fact that later on they do build it back up, but I think it could have been so more effective if this little scene hadn't happened.
I don't know why you think that destroys their fear factor. Because
they were defeated so easily, so early on.
But it wasn't like, I don't know, again, not easily.
And it wasn't by a great plan. It was by chance. The Doctor did something and it worked.
Well, no, again,
it feels cheap.
I don't see it as like by chance. I see it as, I mean, the Doctor knows how the TARDIS works. Do you know what I mean? He knows what its parts do, what it's capable of. I don't think the Doctor just took it. I don't think there's a world out there where the Doctor like held this thing out, made this like badass face, and nothing happened. Do you know what I mean? And then he got killed.
Do you know what? Maybe in a parallel universe there is.
I think he knew it was going to expel the energy, and I think he knew what it was going to do.
It's just.
I get your frustration.
It's so silly.
I don't think you're being entirely fair.
I disagree. I think I am. Look, the whole point of us and me analysing this is personally for me to try and find ways that this could be, in my opinion, better.
Right.
That's the point.
Yeah, no, but that's what I mean.
And then talking about ways how this does things brilliantly.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. This is why I'm so sad about it, because I think they did the whole thing with the Cybermen so well that, you know, the whole thing of, you know, we're not seeing them, they're just spoken about. We hear about the Doctor in episode 1 speak about, you know, oh no, this is happening again. They've deleted or removed their emotion because it caused, they're in so much pain. Like that, those little things are so scary. And then just to kind of view them, it leaves us on a cliffhanger. And then to come back, if we didn't have this scene, the next scene I assume we would see them in is them basically rounding up people to take them to this factory where they get processed. Like, that's quite scary. But having them be standing around and being like, well, we don't care what you're saying.
Right. I guess the thing with this, right, is I don't agree that they were easily defeated. It's not as if they were like... It's not like Dan pushing a Dalek around. Do you know what I mean? And even
Fair
the Daleks,
enough, yeah.
right? It's not something that your average Joe could do. But I do understand the criticism that they were maybe defeated too early on.
Yeah,
we shouldn't... even though we've been teased with them, we only saw them for the first time 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And the fact that we've already destroyed some. I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand that criticism, and you think maybe to hold up that fear factor, they should seem to be... or they should be seen as unkillable for a period of time.
Yeah.
But...
Because in the first episode, they're not really used.
All right, here's my suggestion, not to jump ahead too much, but you know later on when they're in the cooling tunnels...
Yeah.
And Mrs. Moore throws that EMP bomb. What if the Doctor used the TARDIS charge cell there?
No.
No?
No.
You're just not about the TARDIS charge cell at all?
No, I'm not. I don't want it to be used like that.
Any particular reason?
Because if it doesn't follow rules...
Is it because he can just hold it out? Like, if he had to, like, plug it into machinery or something to create it, would that be fine? Is it just because he can just hold it in front of him and just do it?
Because you could argue in the sense... he even calls it a cell. It's a form of energy.
Yeah.
So you could...
It's like just holding a AA battery out and expecting...
Exactly.
Right,
That's my exact point. How can he point it out and control the energy and the direction of the energy?
I mean, that's something you just kind of have to just assume. Like, obviously, we know how batteries work, and it has to be connected to...
Whereas Mrs. Moore's version of the EMP,
it's like an EMP, yeah.
That's brilliant, because, yes, they are made of metal. She has used
It's
something.
like magnetised as well, isn't it? Because when she throws it, it like sticks to it.
Exactly, and I think that's brilliant. But this just seems...
Yeah.
Do you mean even if
I never really thought about it this deeply, because again, I just assumed as a piece of TARDIS tech, I just don't know how it works.
But that's the whole point. I want to know how it works, because how can the Doctor control the energy like this? Why doesn't he wait? Why don't they wait a little bit longer? Or, if he knew this was the case, why didn't he use it when everybody was being electrocuted in the hallway?
Because the Cybermen weren't forming a neat circle for the energy to join between them.
And how is it a neat circle? You could say maybe it's a certain perimeter, but it stuff like this opens more questions to me, and I don't like that. I want things, I want it resolved. I want like all the little answers. Do you mean I want something I believe? I don't believe this. I go, okay, you've just put that in.
I thought you were a fan of the whimsical fairy tale nature.
I
didn't.
am.
You can't be like that and then be like, but I want all the answers and I want it to be hard sci-fi.
I want it to be hard sci-fi and scary. If you're gonna try...
You can't say that and then be like, but I want every episode to be like Robot of Sherwood. You can't.
Yeah, but that's the difference. That doesn't particularly try to be scary, whereas this is, and that's why it's chosen a tone. It should stick to that tone. Do you mean you can have your romps? They're fine.
I agree in terms of keeping the tone up. I just don't think
I don't like switching of tones that much.
Yeah, I
think
that.
very rarely
but
it's done well.
But I don't think that the Doctor using the TARDIS cell to kill the Cybermen switched up the tone.
No, I don't. But
I think that's you nitpicking the sciencey details.
It is, but I think, like I said before, it's not that it changes the tone. It's that it compromises the scariness that you've built up, compromises the work you've put in.
Right.
And that's why I don't like it, because I'm like, if you cut that scene out, again, it ended where I said, and then they ran and met Mickey and all that outside and left. It would still have that thing of like the last time we'd seen them, they killed everybody. There's no correspondence with them. It's like that thing in Bond. Do you mean where like the bad guy just tells Bond all of his plans? It's like if he just shot him dead there'd be no... Yeah. It loses the scariness.
I guess this is where I'm at, is I don't agree with your criticism of the TARDIS cell destroying the Cybermen.
That's fair.
But if your proposed suggestion were to happen and it were to end at that point, and then they were to just leave, I also wouldn't have any complaints with it. I don't necessarily argue that this was the better way to do it. I don't argue that the way it actually happened is better than your suggestion. I just don't seem to have a problem with it in the same way that you do. but yeah, that's where I'm at with that. But this bit is quickly made up for, I feel, in the fact that after the Cybermen die and they're running for an escape, Mrs. Moore shows up in the van and tries to pick them up. Pete wants to go back for Jackie, but the doctor says anyone inside that building is dead, so you need to go and make sure that her death wasn't for nothing. And they get back in the van, and Mrs. Moore says, God, this is the slowest getaway I've ever seen.
Yeah, she's literally in the van outside. She's like, having a nice chat.
Rose, you can tell as well, is kind of torn about going back, but the doctor says, that is not your mother.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then they make a break for it. Inside the house, Jackie, she's not dead. She's trapped behind the basement door. And you kind of see like some Cybermen walk past and she's like hiding. Back in the van, the doctor tells Mickey that the power cell will recharge, like he said, in about 4 hours. Ricky and Jake start threatening Pete for his connection to Cybus. He says like, they say they're gonna like execute him or something.
Yeah, which I was like, oh.
Yeah, well, yeah, because the doctor says like, well, you start talking about executing people and you're gonna make an enemy of me, and trust me, you don't really want to do that.
Again, it's like, oh, scary for, or like, oh, for the viewer to say that the doctor's being threatening, but for these people, they're like, who the hell are you?
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
You're waiting staff. Who are you?
Yeah. This waiter thinks a lot of himself.
Yeah. All right, son, sit down.
Yeah. But yeah, this is when Pete reveals that he's actually Gemini. He's the one that's been feeding the preachers this inside information.
Yeah.
He joined Lumic to basically get information so he could feed to security services. But he said instead, I got Scooby-Doo in his gang. They've even got the van.
I like this.
Yeah. There's quite a lot of times that Scooby-Doo gets referenced in Doctor Who.
That's fair.
Someone needs to make a compilation of that.
Because there's like monsters, and then there's like trying to, resolve the mystery.
No, I mean even just characters directly referencing Scooby-Doo by name.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. Like there's a lot of circumstances where it could be mentioned. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I laughed, but also went, when they were saying Ricky's the most wanted in London.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, for parking tickets.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like, even Ricky's lame.
Even Mickey's badass doppelganger is low-key lame.
It's low-key lame. Oh, Ricky. Again, theory, Mickey/Ricky can't drive. Can't park either.
Yeah. Because doesn't he say, like, he tries to turn it around to make himself sound badass by saying, like, yeah, that's me, I'm fighting the system, I park where I want, and don't ask questions. And the doctor's like, good philosophy, I'm very much the same. Yeah, the doctor says, this ends tonight. So Lumic is inside Battersea Cyber Factory. He starts broadcasting a signal via the AirPods. Earpods, not AirPods. This is not branded.
Come on, Connor.
I take it back.
Did you start theory?
Is the ghost of Steve Jobs. Yeah. So at this point, the population kind of stop dead in the streets again as Lumic sucks to control them. And they all start walking towards the factory, ready to be converted into Cybermen.
You got another, I know it's not Russell, but another Russell T. Davis era thing. News channel.
Yeah.
Take your pods out.
Yeah. Russell loves doing that.
He does, yeah.
Yeah. Jackie's earpods become controlled, and she was hiding in the basement, but now she just basically walks out and starts walking in as well. It goes to happen to Mr. Crane, but he takes them off. And he goes, "Oh no, you don't."
Fair.
Yeah. This is what I mean. I get what you mean about the Cybermen's like intimidation factor, because this is horrifying.
Exactly.
Just watching all these people just kind of walking.
Yeah, and they're just being escorted, really, aren't they? They're just being marched. Like, if you hadn't really seen them until that point, I think it would be like, oh.
I mean, the Doctor even says something, doesn't he? He's like, God, the human race, we're such a clever bunch. You don't have to love being oppressed.
Yeah.
Anyone wants to take control, you just roll over and let it happen. Yeah. So the Cybermen are now walking the streets as the city is getting sealed off, and the gang arrive in London, and Rose suggests basically pulling off the earpods from the people who are walking in. The Doctor says, no, it's too dangerous. It could cause a brainstorm. Don't know what that means. This is maybe the one point where I'm like, this just feels like you can't for the story to happen. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're just like, okay, you just can assume if you rip the earpods off, someone's just going to die. But, like, again, I don't know why scientifically that would be the case. It's not like it's actually, like... I know they say the earpods are connected to their brains, but I'm assuming it's through, like, signals or something. It's not as if it's actually hardwired into their brain, is it?
No, because they're removable.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. So I would have thought, scientifically, you could just pull the earpods off. It'd be fine. This is maybe the one point where I'm like, this is a bit contrived for the story to happen. But otherwise, it's fine.
Shut up.
Yeah, so Pete tells the Doctor that Lumix base is at Battersea, and the Cybermen were born basically from Lumix's obsession with prolonging his own life because he's dying. Do we know what he's dying of?
He seems... It's like a respiratory thing, it seems, because he has to have his mask, but he can't walk. Maybe it's like, I don't know, some disease from another parallel universe.
Yeah, maybe. Because, like I say, he's in a wheelchair, but he's got, like, oxygen tanks. And he's not just oxygen tanks, but he's got, like, loads of cables and tubes and stuff wired up to the back of this wheelchair. I
do wonder if it's, like, a muscle thing.
Maybe.
Because often, like, people with, like, wasting muscles often struggle to breathe, obviously, because you need muscles to breathe.
Yeah.
So maybe that's, like, another thing. Maybe that's what this is.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Anyway, Rose recognises the Cybermen. She actually addresses Van Statten's museum, which is nice, because I think, again, it would have been very easy to just sort of gloss over that.
Yeah.
But she actually remembers the handle shape from the museum. The Doctor says the Cybermen in their universe began on an ordinary world just like this one, and then swarmed across the galaxy. That's a nice little reference to the 10th planet. So at this point, they decide they're going to split up to increase their chances of getting out of the city. Ricky and Mickey go in one direction, as Mrs. Moore and the others go in the other. And when they're, like, running away from the Cybermen, Mickey and Ricky kind of, I don't know, match each other's, like, personalities, I guess.
Again, I love these interactions. Ricky says, "Oh, you're a lot like me."
Yeah, he says, like, I don't get it. What's with you? He's like, you don't just look like me. We're exactly the same. And Mickey's like, I don't know. I reckon you're braver.
And he's like,
oh, yeah, no doubt.
I was like, oh.
He goes, still, though, those friends of yours ain't bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, that's quite nice in and of itself, because he says, that's just Rose and the Doctor. I just tag along. He's like, yeah, well, if you tag along, you can't be that bad either. Yeah. Like, well, that's quite nice. He's giving himself a pep talk, kind of.
Yeah, he's like, you're okay. Be more confident.
Yeah.
One thing I would like to mention, a little bit back forward, when they're watching the people being marched through the street, I'd just like to mention how openly the Doctor and Rose are discussing parallel universes at this point.
Yeah, because there's a couple of times where people go, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Or they just say, like, you guys are just talking nonsense. And, like, people, like, hear them, but, like, no one actually takes them seriously.
Well, because...
No one assumes they're lunatics.
Well, it does seem that, like, Pete's kind of listening into their parallel, conversation.
It's kind of in character, though, isn't it? Because, again, when you think about Father's Day...
It was the same
thing,
The way
Pete works it out is he overhears Nine and Rose talking.
Yeah.
And when most people would think, well, they're nuts, he kind of pieces it together. He's quite open-minded. So... Yeah, maybe.
To be fair, weirder things are happening. So
True. Well, I don't know, actually.
They've fused the human brain with a robot.
Technology getting out of hand and people having their emotions removed, is that more, like, crazy than two people talking as if they've come from a different universe? You tell us in the comments.
Yeah, it is. I can automatically say that. I know this is a little bit of a tangent, but I had heard that they're currently, I think it's Musk's, something to do with Musk. I think he's working on like chips at the moment.
Right.
Apparently, I heard that they've implanted a chip for a man who is paralyzed from the head or the neck down.
Yeah.
And he cannot use his hands. Are creating a chip to basically, you think something with a computer and it does it.
Right.
So you think words and it types it.
How did Stephen Hawking talk?
It's eyes. So
It was like movement, was it? Like
there's a camera, there's a screen, and there's a camera above, and it tracks the exact eye movement of your iris. So you basically, that's why it would take him so long to talk, because he would have to...
He's essentially typing with his eyes.
Yes.
Right.
And like I said, it tracks which letters you go to.
Right. Cool.
Very cool. Very sophisticated. Very expensive.
Musk, crazy dude.
Yeah, well...
Every time like Elon Musk shows, not to get political, but every time Elon Musk shows up in the news, I feel like I'm in an episode of Black Mirror.
I was going to say Doctor Who.
No, because there'd be fun involved then. There'd be a bit of romp. So the Doctor, Mrs. Moore, Pete and Rose start running, well, I say start, carry on running from the Cybermen. They're hiding around a street corner, and the Doctor uses the sonic to kind of send a platoon away. Kind of at the same time, the Cybermen catch up with Mickey and Ricky as they're like climbing a fence, and Mickey climbs really quickly and jumps over. Ricky's on his way up, but the Cybermen reach him when he's about halfway, and they grab his leg and electrocute him, and he drops down. That's
gotta be a weird thing to process, watching yourself die.
Yeah.
Sad in the moment, but also like weird for Mickey. Poor Mickey.
Yeah, Ricky's dead. Falls down to the ground. He's dead. And Mickey, I tell you what's really interesting is Mickey, like, all the music cuts out at this point, and Mickey like looks down, sees Ricky dead, looks up at the Cybermen. The shot of the Cybermen standing there with no music and no sound effects is kind of funny. Not gonna lie. But then Mickey, just before he turns around and runs away, but just before he turns around, he does this weird like facial like tick where he like scrunches his nose up and he looks like Ricky when he does it. And it's like Noel Clarke obviously does these little like subtle facial differences to differentiate Mickey and Ricky. Yeah. Like when he's Ricky, I think he talks in a lower voice, and he's a bit more like scrunchy, like he looks more like annoyed, angry at things, where Mickey looks a bit more helpless. Yeah. But it's like Mickey's reaction to Ricky's dying brought a bit of Ricky out of him. Does that make sense? I was just something like a subtle kind of like facial tick I noticed that I thought was interesting. He turns around and he runs away. Inside the factory, Crane is brought to Lumic for treachery, for taking the earpods out. Crane says that his earpod malfunctioned, and he's like, I want to volunteer for the upgrade. But alas, it's only a ruse.
He just pulls all his tubes out.
He gets close to Lumic's wheelchair and just starts basically breaking all the tubes and pulling everything out. And Lumic starts going into shock. He's like, oh, help! Oh, stop him!
And he's like, help me. And they're like, now time for upgrade.
Well, the Cybermen electrocute Crane, but it looks like the damage has already been done. And they say Lumic has to be converted. But he says, I will upgrade, but not until my dying breath. And they basically just ignore him.
Well, no, they say, well, mate, let's bring that sooner.
And they just start wheeling him into the conversion room.
He's like, no.
Imagine like, when you go to like an old people's home and you see like an old person in a chair and their carer pushing the wheelchair. Yeah. Imagine just an old guy or an old woman in a wheelchair, and you look up at the carer pushing the chair, and it's a man in that bulky Cyberman arm.
Oh, I love the idea of like the Cybermen are still around, but they've made them nice now, so they're like working in care homes, looking after the elderly.
Like the end of Shaun of the Dead, where they start like domesticating the zombies.
Yeah, I like the idea. Yeah. I feel like this reference is from somewhere, but I can't think of it. Where they put like a little penny on it.
A what?
Like a little pinny.
What's that?
Like, you know when you cook,
Yeah.
you got the apron.
Yeah.
It's like that is if you've cut the top half off and it's just round the waist.
Right. Is
Pinny. Or pinafore. Well, technically a pinafore is
that's
like...
not just still an apron?
I guess you could. I'm going to call it a pinny. I was thinking of a pink...
Right.
A little pink pinny, and they're just like pushing them around.
Is that like a cute little phrase you've just used, or is that what they're actually called?
A lot of people call them pinnies, yeah. Maybe it's a British thing, I don't know.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, a pinny or a pinafore.
Well, no one can say we're not an educational podcast.
Random things to educate people on, but okay.
Yeah. Anyway, near the river, the team meets up under a bridge. Mickey arrives, and there's this really like awkward moment where Jake says, "Which one are you?" And are you Ricky or Mickey? And then Rose says, "Mickey, that's you, isn't it?" And Mickey says, "Yeah," and he tells them obviously what happened to Ricky. Jake, he's got this reaction that's kind of like a mixture of like anger and like grief at the same time. Because at first he's like, it seems more sad, like grief, but then he tells Mickey, says, "You're nothing."
Poor Mickey.
And I'm like,
just
Mickey spent his whole life being told he's nothing. Do you know what I mean?
Don't go to a parallel universe and have someone else.
Yeah, God, why do the writers hate Mickey so much?
I know.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be, again, side tangent, but again, maybe how my apparently evil little brain works. Wouldn't it be a cool concept? Obviously done many a time. If it actually had been Ricky who had survived, and then went off with the Rose and Doctor.
Right. Any particular reason that thought came to your head?
I don't know. I just feel like
Would that be like sinister, or
Yes.
would that be right? Okay. You answered so quick. Yes.
yes. Maybe he's fed up of the way that they were treating Mickey, and now he wants revenge.
Yeah.
I just want the Doctor and Rose to have their comeuppance.
Yeah. Well, they will.
They will.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, the Doctor says that they can mourn Ricky when London is safe, but for now they've got to move on. So they walk up a hill and they look at the cyber factory, and they can see there's a Zeppelin tied to the roof. The Doctor says that the whole of London's been sealed off and the entire population is being taken inside the factory to be converted. So this is what I made a note. Everyone has earpods. Everyone.
I know.
Every single person.
Well,
Or is it implied that Cybermen are just walking around like looting up the stragglers that don't?
I guess. Because, well, technically not everybody does. Because the homeless people didn't. They didn't have earpods.
Well, they do now.
Well, yeah, they do now. Well.
After being taken in the truck.
Like, it seems like this is something you'd have to purchase, not like something that is given.
It's just given out, yeah.
Yeah. But then to be fair, that's kind of sus.
Yeah. Don't accept free stuff. Don't accept free stuff, people. If it's worth anything, people won't give it away for free.
That's not true. I walked through Cardiff City Centre and was given 2 free bottles of Iron Brew.
Yeah.
I don't even like Iron Brew, but Connor does.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, so Mrs. Moore calls up like a schematic she's got of the factory, which shows that there's old cooling tunnels that lead underneath it. Pete suggests just going through the front door, because Mrs. Moore shows she's got like dummy earpods, which aren't connected. There's no signal, but the idea is they can pop them in and just walk through, pretending to be one of the crowd. Rose says that she wants to go with Pete, but the Doctor's like, if you're going to infiltrate the building, you can't show any emotion. But the Doctor thinks of a third way, which is to sabotage like the earpod transmissions, so people don't just walk to their deaths like sheep. So what they essentially decide to do is all three. They're going to split up, and the Doctor tells Jake to go take out the transmitter from the Zeppelin. The Doctor uses Sonic to kind of work out it's on the Zeppelin. And Rose and Pete are going to go through the front door with the I nearly said AirPods again. And the Doctor and Mrs. Moore are going to enter the factory from below through the cooling tunnels. And they're all about to leave when Mickey says, what do you want me to do? And the Doctor's like, yes, Mickey.
And he's like,
You forgot about me again.
I'm not a tin dog. It's like,
Jesus. Yeah. The Doctor's such a douche.
he is such a dude. Well, funny enough, I did make a note about that. You know, when they're standing on the, I don't know,
It's like a hill.
on the hill, yeah. And looking over, and Mickey's like, "Oh, you're making this go up as you go along," and he's like, "Yes, I am. Aren't I brilliant?"
Yeah. Yeah, but I do it so well. Yeah.
And boasting.
Yeah. Because he says to Lumic later as well, I think. He says, like,
I'm a
I'd
genius.
say you're a genius if I wasn't in the room.
Yeah, I know. I noted that as well.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah. But yeah, Mickey, he's annoyed at being the tin dog again. So he says he's going to go with Jake, and Jake doesn't want him there.
And he just shouts at
Yeah,
him.
he shouts at him. He says, I'm not useless, all right?
He's like, "I'm just trying to help."
I'm just trying to help.
and Jake's probably like, "Fair enough."
And Jake's like, whatever, and just turns around. And to be fair, the Doctor just say, Mickey, good luck.
Yeah.
This is what hurts so much, right? Because the Doctor does have respect for Mickey. He does. It's not like he doesn't like him or he doesn't care about him. He just keeps overlooking him.
This is what's so sad. Again, different doctors, but the same doctor.
Yeah.
Like Eccleston or Ninth Doctor.
Like, they hated each other in the beginning, didn't they?
But that's the thing. If it'd been the same, if Eccleston or the Ninth Doctor was here, it'd be completely different.
It would. He would have way more respect for
He
him.
would, yeah. And
That's what I mean. They hated each other in the beginning, but by the time you got to, like, Boomtown, do you know what I mean? Like, they were on good terms.
and by the end, they were on.
Yeah.
You know, but it's just like, oh,
Yeah, I know. Sadness.
so sad.
Yeah, so the Doctor and Mrs. Moore enter the cooling tunnels.
I love this.
Which part in particular?
I love Mrs. Moore, and not that I'm saying this because I don't feel that way about myself, but I feel in this very moment that she is me.
You're right.
She digs into a bag of many things.
Yes.
And brings out head torches.
Yeah, she does.
And like
yeah.
other stuff. And then the dog's like, "Have you got a hot dog in there? I'm hungry." And that's just me.
Yeah, she says something like, "Oh yeah, that's very appropriate, isn't it? Like mechanized meat." He's like, "Oh yeah, but it is tasty."
Yeah, he's like, "Cybermen of food."
Yeah, so they enter the tunnels and they realise it's filled with like hundreds of inactive Cybermen. Mrs. Moore kind of freaks out a bit, but he's like, no, they've been converted, but they've been put on ice. But he says to move carefully and keep an eye out for any traps. So as they're walking down, she tells him that she used to work for Cybers Industries until one day she read a file that wasn't supposed to be on the mainframe. And since then, she's been hunted down by Lumic and had to go on the run. Even her husband and her 2 children think she's dead.
Yeah.
She says her name isn't really Mrs. Moore. She got that from a book. But she had to fake her death to protect her family. The Doctor asks what her name is. She says, Angela Price.
Death sentence.
Yeah, as soon as the character starts opening up.
Yeah. It's like, my name is this. Dead.
Yeah. As soon as a side character who's had like 10 minutes screen time already starts opening up and giving you all their personal life story, dead.
Yeah, dead.
Yeah, but promise not to tell anyone. He's like, not a word.
Which he breaks.
In the end, he does, yeah.
Yeah. Damn.
Yeah. But as they walk past, a red light flashes and one of the Cybermen in the tunnel kind of like turn and is like watching them, I guess. So I'm trying to make sense of my notes here.
At this point, we go to Rose and Pete walking into the main entrance.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're trying not to be noticed.
Yeah.
And they carry on walking down. Pete, we see lots of people walking into these strange rooms. We see the
weird like
arms
scissor
again.
arms like coming down and snip, 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 snip,
Yeah.
and cutting people up.
and then
Just a thing about this as well. This is just a fun fact for you. Gethin Jones, Blue Peter presenter Gethin Jones. He played one of the Cybermen in the street.
Oh.
Because he was filming a segment for the show at the same time, so he asked if he was just wanted to be one of the extras.
Fair enough.
So one of those Cybermen is Gethin Jones. But yeah, go on.
We get like this kind of like zooming out clip of where you see like the people have gone in and now they're coming out as Cybermen.
Yeah.
And it's like that zooming out CG.
Yes.
Again, you could tell it's CG, but I think it's not bad. It's quite cool.
It's not the best, but it doesn't pull me out.
Of the time, I think it was all right.
It's all right. Yeah. Yeah. So
I did put in my notes though, scary CG, as in the sense of like, oh god, this they're being processed, but also like scary CG. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Obviously, Rose and Pete have their like fake earpods in, so they're walking in a line, trying not to show emotion. Yeah,
and they're recognised.
They're recognised by a Cyberman.
Mm-hmm.
Because they watch one woman just walk in and get converted, don't they?
Yeah.
And then a Cyberman walks up and identifies Pete. Says like, "You are Pete Tyler," and it reveals it knows that because this Cyberman was Jackie.
Okay. It's so sad.
And so much for not showing emotion. Because Pete immediately goes, "What?" And then Rose goes, "You can't be her." So like, nice one, guys. You screwed the pooch.
To be fair, the Cybermen don't seem to care.
No, not really.
They're like, oh, this man Pete has done great things for us and has helped us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they take Rose with him.
I guess, yeah. Yeah, but Pete's like, this is impossible. But yeah, the Cyberman says because he worked for Cybers, he'll be rewarded by force, essentially.
Yeah.
So he's going to be taken to cyber control for upgrading. And it takes, well, it commands one of the other Cybermen to take Pete and Pete and Rose there. And as they're walking, he looks over his shoulder. This is quite sad. He goes, wait, which one was it? Which one was it? And you just can't tell. I lost it.
Yeah, and I think Rose says, oh, they all look the same.
Yeah.
I think I like the scene because it's so sad. I think I would have liked a little bit more from it.
From them meeting Jackie?
Yeah. I feel like, I know they try not to show emotion. Yeah. But I would have liked more emotion.
What would you have wanted?
I don't know, like, even if it's one of them was stunned to silence or something. Do you mean, like, if you were doing this and then you found out that I had been turned into a Cyberman, would you have had either of their reactions? I feel like you would have, like, it would have been
Probably
more...
would have been closer to Pete's than Rose's.
Yeah, but I feel like it would have been a bit more guttural, do you mean?
You think of, like, when the Ninth Doctor thinks Rose dies in Bad Wolf and he just drops to his knees and just, like, zones out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't know. Anyway, up on the roof, Mickey and Jake get to the Zeppelin and it's being guarded by just two guards.
Yeah.
They're, like, hypnotized. Jake, like, Mickey has to tell Jake not to kill them.
Yeah.
Which makes me think, what was Jake gonna do?
Probably shoot them. He has a gun.
I guess.
Bang, bang.
I don't know, yeah.
My question is, why haven't they been turned into Cybermen yet?
I don't know.
Would have been more effective.
I guess. But yeah, Jake wants to kill them, but Mickey says if he does, what's the difference between you and a Cyberman? So Jake shows him these, like, knockout drops, I guess.
Smelling salts or something.
Yeah, Mickey goes, what, they smelling salts? And he's like, bit stronger than that, provided by Mrs. Moore. And he says it'll knock them out, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they run up, they knock the guards out, and then they kind of climb up inside the Zeppelin and get onto the bridge. They're looking for the transmitter controls, obviously, to try and kill the signal. They do find a Cyberman in there.
But
he's just like an empty shell for display purposes.
Mickey just ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Yeah, risky, but okay.
Back in the tunnels, the Doctor and Mrs. Moore come across a Cyberman. This is when Mrs. Moore just throws the EMP.
Well, yeah, I think it's really cool how they all just kind of, they're against the walls, and then as the Doctor and, well, Angela, run through the tunnels. I like how as they go past, they kind of like face towards them.
Yes.
It's like a swiveled step.
Oh yeah, sorry, no, yeah, just
like
before this bit, it's a
clunk.
bit where they all start activating and they chase them through the tunnel.
I think that's really cool. I like
they climb
that.
up a ladder and they quickly like go through a drainage thing. I don't know, but they climb a ladder and they get out and they're in like a different tunnel now. And yeah, a Cyberman steps out and Mrs. Moore throws like an EMP bomb, which I did make a note here. Why didn't she use that before?
Maybe she's only got one.
Well, yeah, I know, but like she could have used that either A,
As they're about
at the party, or B, in the section just before this when there were, you know, like loads of them in the tunnel and they were running to the ladder and she very nearly got caught. Why didn't she use it then?
I'll tell you why not at the party. Because she said that the doctor said about the electromagnetic bomb, and she said she'd crafted it after knowing or after thinking that it would have an effect on them. So after the party, why?
So that was makeshift.
That was makeshift.
Right.
She could have used it in the tunnel, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess. But then, I guess, you've only got one, possibly two, I'm guessing.
Guess, but I would have... That was a very close scrape.
It was.
Before, so I probably would have used it then.
Yeah, me too, but...
Yeah, so this Cyberman falls to the floor, seemingly dead. The doctor goes up and he uses the sonic to kind of open the chest plate, and he finds bits of organic nervous system, just kind of like fleshy goop, and an emotional inhibitor. He says that if the Cybermen, realized what they'd become, they would go insane.
Yeah.
So they need the emotional inhibitor to shut off all the emotions so they don't really realize what they are. And at this point, the Cyberman wakes up, but with the emotional inhibitor broken, it remembers who it was before.
Oh, this is so sad.
And it's a woman named Sally.
She just wakes up and goes, I'm so cold.
Yeah. I'm so cold. Where's Gareth?
Yeah.
Hearing a Cyberman go, Gareth.
Gareth.
Yeah. So, Sally was due to be getting married.
Yeah.
And obviously this has happened. And it basically ends with the doctor apologizing and kind of, I guess, eases her into death by turning her off with the sonic.
Which, again, also asks questions.
You said you like things dark, miserable, and depressing. In the original script, this Cyberman wasn't a woman called Sally, who was, killed the day before her wedding. It was going to be an 11-year-old boy.
Ooh. Yeah. That's too Torchwood.
Yeah, you think?
Yeah. They couldn't do that to kids.
11-year-old boy that the doctor was going to euthanize.
How does the doctor do this?
I thought you were going to say how would that work, 'cause I thought you were trying to picture a Cyberman body but small.
Well, no, because it would just be...
I know it would just be the same brain in the suit,
Same
but I'm
brain,
trying to imagine like a Cyberman with the same like proportions, but only like 4 foot tall.
like a tiny Cyberman. Oh,
You're like the tiny
no.
Slovene in the Sarah Jane
no.
Adventures.
Yeah. How does he just turn it off?
Well, yeah, this is what I'm not sure of, because obviously the EMP destroyed all the sort of electronic stuff, including the emotional inhibitor. So surely when she wakes up, it's the brain. But the thing is, when she's talking, you still have those like blue LEDs on the mouth lighting up as well. So it immediately doesn't make sense.
No, you could possibly argue. He mentions that there's a robotic or electronic heart. Possibly you could argue.
Oh yeah, he says heart of steel, doesn't he? Yeah.
Possibly he's kind of turned that off. Maybe that he's closer to it, he's able to turn it off, maybe.
I think you just have to accept it.
Yeah, you could argue that's what obviously is keeping the brain alive.
Yeah.
Quote unquote. But
yeah. After this whole experience with the emotional inhibitor, the doctor kind of comes to the realization that this is the solution. If they can find like the cancellation code for the inhibitor and feed it through the system, maybe the shock of realizing what they are would actually kill them.
Yeah, I just thought of something really bad.
What?
What if the doctor didn't turn it off?
Or just mute it?
What if he just muted it? Yeah. Oh, God.
Proper World Nothing Time style, yeah.
Oh, no.
Still on the floor now.
Ooh.
Where is Gareth?
It's fine. It would have been blown up. It's fine.
Yeah, good point. Good
Fine.
point.
Oh, so sad.
Yeah, so the Doctor kind of like hesitates at this thought. He's like, can we do that? But Mrs. Moore says, we have to before they kill anyone else.
Yeah.
And as she goes to stand up, a Cyberman appears and electrocutes her.
Yeah.
And the Doctor seems more annoyed than angry.
Again.
He's like, oh, what'd you do that for? You didn't have to kill her.
He went, no, you didn't have to kill her. It's like, poor Angela. I was so rooting for her, but as we said, she was stamped with the black spot. Do you know what I mean?
Wonder where that was going there. She was stamped with the, I gave you my character background. I have nothing more to give.
You are dead.
Um,
You know everything about me now, so now you can feel sad when I die.
yeah. So the Doctor is scanned, and sorry, I'm now the yawn there. The Doctor is scanned, and they sort of take note of his biology, his biovascular, cardiac, whatever. He's got 2 hearts, and they say he's an unknown upgrade. So they take him to Central Command to be studied. Back on the Zeppelin, Mickey finds the transmitter control behind like a steel plate, but there doesn't seem to be any way of like cutting through it. Jake suggests setting the autopilot of the ship to kind of like crash and they can just jump off. But Mickey starts like hacking into like the ship systems instead. Says, I'm good with computers.
Odds on the password here is
Buffalo. 2 F's on L.
What if it's 1 F 2 L's?
Oh yeah, parallel Earth, of course.
Parallel Earth.
Yeah.
I hope that is the case.
The Doctor is he's brought to cyber control with Pete and Rose is there. He's trying to be funny, isn't he, the Doctor? He's like, oh no, I've been caught. Don't worry though. Pete and Rose are out there. They'll save me. Oh wait, like, nice Doctor. Cool. You can't, can you? You can't just not be a sarky shit for a moment. But yeah, the 2 of them tell him about Jackie. He doesn't care, not really.
No.
He asks where Lumic is, and a Cyberman says he's been upgraded into the Cyber Controller. And then a wall slides back and reveals. I wrote down Cyberman with glowing eyes and transparent brain case sitting on mechanical throne. Yeah. Is what I wrote down.
Well, this is the saddest thing. He was made into a Cyberman, but he's still
disabled.
He's still plugged into this thing. It's like, oh no.
You're concerned he's plugged in, not the fact that he still can't walk.
Well, he can, because he walks later, doesn't he? He pulls because he pulls out all his tubes to chase after them.
Yeah,
I know. I did think that originally, but then I thought no. Later on, he does get up.
I'm thinking like, oh man, like remember Spy Kids 3? Like when they're in the game, at least Grandpa can walk in Spy Kids 3.
Yeah, I know. You think they'd give him a little bit of time, but I guess they needed him to control everything from his giant, weird chair.
Yeah, he says, "This is the age of steel, and I am its creator." Back on the Zeppelin, that Cyberman that seemed to be just like an empty case comes back to life.
Yeah,
and tries to kill Mickey and Jake. Mickey runs in front of that panel he was trying to open, and he kind of baits the Cyberman into punching him, and he dodges at the last minute, and it kind of breaks the steel plate which protects the transmitter control. Obviously the electricity kills the Cyberman dead on the spot basically, and the transmission gets cut off, and then at this point all the humans in the factory kind of like snap out of their trances, and they realize where they are. They see all the snips coming down from the ceiling, and they all start panicking and running away. I hate it when my phone does this. I'm sorry, my phone just scrolled back to the top while I was reading my notes. I
mean, I can. At this point, the Doctor's having a conversation with Loomis, and he's
Lumic.
Do you know what?
How many times do you need to hear?
I'm not going to like genuinely earlier. I said Crane is having a conversation or tries to kill the man. In brackets, forgot his name again. Those are my notes.
It's such an easy name to remember as well.
I can't. Lumic. The Cyberman that he is now, and
Cyber controller.
He's still a Cyberman.
We're going to do this. We're going to do it properly.
He's still a Cyberman. And he asks who the doctor is.
Yes.
And he says, I'm the doctor. And then points out the fact that, well, you're no longer needed. You're useless now because my new upgrade no longer needs doctors.
Yes. Yeah,
Fair.
there is no sickness. Yeah. The doctor can hear all the screams, though, of the people. Which you'd think he'd be like, oh, what's that? But he immediately just like realizes that Mickey and Jacob succeeded, and he's like, ha!
Yeah.
The cyber controller, or Lumic, says that he's got factories around the world, and if he can't use the earpods, then the conversions will just take place by force. At this point, the doctor knows that Mickey and Jake are watching, because Mickey's like hacking on the computer, and he hacks into the cameras.
Yeah.
And you see this like red light pop on, so the doctor knows they're watching. So he's like trying to stall and like give them clues.
Yeah. He's like, oh, an idiot would know what to do.
Yeah. And Mickey's like, oh,
Me.
that's me. Yeah.
That's so sad that when he hears the doctor speak about an idiot, he's like, me.
Yeah. Lumic says the doctor says that Lumic is creating a world without imagination and creativity, something that got him to where he is now. So humanity will stop progressing. He said, you'll stop growing, you'll stop progressing, you'll just stay like this forever.
Lumic does ask the doctor about whether he's dealt with grief and pain in his life.
Yes.
And he's like, yes, and I want to keep it that way.
Yeah.
Does he? Doesn't react very well to it in the future.
Or the past.
Or the past.
Yeah. But again, that's his thing. He's like, because Lumic's whole thing is like, I am the cyber controller. And the doctor's like, yeah, but you don't control me or anything with blood in its heart. You're just a cyber controller. But yeah, you're right. The doctor says that, Lumic may have an army, but he forgets that ordinary people, even some idiot, can save the world. That's when Mickey's like, oh, me? Yeah, so the doctor obviously needs to find a code that will shut down the inhibitors. So Mickey is like searching through Lumic's database to try and decrypt the code, which he does in the end. And again, the doctor's giving him clues the whole time, and Mickey gets the code and he texts it to Rose's superphone. Why are you shaking your head?
You know exactly why I'm shaking my head.
No, I don't.
It's a good job that Rose's superphone from a parallel universe has a port on this ship or this place.
Yeah, well, I did actually make a note of this because...
So stupid.
Well, the doctor says that in his drive for technological dominance, Lumic made his systems capable of interfacing with anything. That is literally the last thing he says before he slams the phone down. So everything's like capable of interfacing with each other.
But how on Earth?
You could argue it's lucky that, I guess, on this parallel Earth, that phone doesn't have a different port or something. But
doesn't have a different port.
But then
it's
again,
lucky the port is there. It's lucky that the interface can then read the text messages through Rose's superphone and then can understand that the code that has come in is the exact code that it needs to use to shut the things down. Stupid.
All right.
Stupid.
You're getting all right.
Stupid. Come on.
Yeah.
They're not even trying.
So he plugs Rose's phone into the console and sends the code across the cyber system. And now all over the factory, the Cybermen's inhibitors are shutting down. They see each other and they start like overloading from the emotions. They're malfunctioning, collapsing. Some even explode, I noticed.
Yeah.
One Cyberman that's really sad sees its reflection.
Yeah.
And like sort of like touches it. And it's like as if it like can't even comprehend what it is. Lumic demands to know what the doctor's done. The doctor says he's given them back their souls. They can see what Lumic's done to them, and it's killing them.
He did that to Jackie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I choose to believe in my headcanon, Jackie's that one that exploded. So yeah, the doctor, Rose, and Pete run out of the control room as the factory starts to explode. all the exits are blocked by Cybermen, and the Doctor realizes there's like no way out. Back on the Zeppelin, Jake's trying to get him to leave, but Mickey refuses to leave everyone behind. So he calls Rose up and tells them to head for the roof. So they do. They head upstairs, and at this point, the cyber controller, or Lumic, he's sat in his chair, and this is when he starts ripping out the tubes.
Yeah.
And he gets up.
I have a funny note to make here.
Yeah.
So Mickey's flying a Zeppelin.
He is. But I know what this note is.
You know exactly what this note is.
PlayStation. Is that your note?
Yes. Because my reaction is WTF. How is he flying a Zeppelin? And then he says PlayStation taught him, and then I put down in my notes Zeppelin simulator.
It's Rose, isn't it? Rose says, "How do you know how to fly a Zeppelin?" He's like, PlayStation.
Get in. What do you mean? Zeppelin simulator. If there isn't one, then there should be.
Yeah. So Mickey lowers the rope ladder, and everyone starts climbing up as the factory's exploding. As they're going up, the ladder shakes, and they realise that Lumic is at the bottom. He's hanging on. He's climbed up after them. This shot is funny.
Yeah. This is where I'm back earlier. I mentioned about things that reoccur. Rose is hanging from a ladder in a sky full of Zeppelins again.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought this comes up in the new series where the Doctor is hanging from the sky up from a ladder
on Church of Ruby Road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, this seems to be a recurring
Yeah, this is
thing.
the pattern. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Doctor throws his Sonic down to Pete and tells him to use it on the rope. What's that face? Why'd you keep making faces?
Well, he does it on one side, and then it snaps and falls.
Oh, you think it should just break one side?
Yeah, but also like Sonic and rope, I guess.
Sonic can do everything but wood. Yeah, but Pete says, "Jackie Tyler, this is for her."
Aww.
And then he Sonics the rope, and the bottom half of the ladder just breaks, and Lumic falls down from the sky into a CGI mess of burning wreckage.
Yeah.
And Pete, Rose, and the Doctor hold onto the ladder as the Zeppelin flies away. We then sort of like cut forward to a bit later that night. The Doctor's gone back to the TARDIS with his fully charged power cell, your favourite little plot device. And he restores power to the ship. Outside, Rose tries to get Pete to join them in the TARDIS, but he refuses. He says there's, still cyber factories and stuff that he needs to take care of.
Yeah.
She tries to explain about... Well, he asks where she's from, and she tries to explain about parallel universes. And says there's a world out there with another Jackie Tyler, another Pete, and they have a daughter.
And he's like, I don't want to know anymore.
Yeah. And then he looks at her and she goes, "Dad." And he goes, "No, I can't." just walks off.
He just says, "Don't."
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah, he can't
not
handle
learning
it.
a lesson again.
Yeah.
Fine.
But yeah, he says someone's got to stick around and tell the authorities what happened, and to tell, basically, talk about Lumic and the other factories. The Doctor sticks his head out of the TARDIS, says they've only got like 5 minutes of power till they have to leave. This is when I noticed this is a niche factoid, but this is the only time I can think of this happens. The Doctor's wardrobe, right? So at this point, Mickey gives obviously when they go to the party, the Doctor wears like it's not a tux, but it's like a black suit. And he's wearing that throughout most of this story, but Mickey gives him his brown suit back here. He says like, not a crease on it or whatever. Now normally when the Doctor's wearing his brown suit, he wears his white Converse. And when the Doctor wears his blue suit, which doesn't appear till next season, he's got his red Converse. And when the Doctor wears a black suit, he's got his black Converse. This, as far as I'm aware, is the only instance, because he's gotten back into his brown suit now, of him wearing the brown suit and the black Converse.
Okay.
That's right. This is nothing. This is not really consequential in any way, but his shoes normally match his outfit, but they don't here. He's wearing the shoes for his black outfit, and you think, oh, maybe he didn't change the shoes, he just changed the suit.
Yeah.
But that means he had to take his suit trousers off with his shoes still on.
I like the idea of the fact that if you actually really think about this, they sent Mickey back to go pick up his clothes. And also, Mickey gives to the doctor. What about Rose's clothes?
Like, where were the clothes anyway? Because I assume, like, surely you went to the TARDIS wardrobe or something, right?
Well, they were at the party.
Yeah, I know, but they had to get changed before they went to the party.
No, they were at the party. And then you went, oh, psychic paper. They were looking around. They were like, how are we going to get in? Psychic paper. I assumed that they just, Hitman style, found waiting
Found some in the laundry
outfits.
room.
Yeah. And then left it there. Maybe they went back to Pete's.
So they went back to the wreckage of Pete's house.
Yeah. Oh, God, with all the bodies. Oh, God.
Mickey's just there looting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mickey's like, where's he put that bloody suit?
Yeah. But anyway, the doctor tells Jake Mrs. Moore's real name. He says her name was Angela Price. And he asks him to find her family and tell them how she died saving the world.
Which is nice.
Yeah. Mickey says that he's staying. Yeah.
Which,
and,
fair enough.
yeah, Rose is like, what? And he says, this world lost its Ricky, but there are other Cybermen factories out there to destroy. And his grandmother needs looking after, so he's going to stay. Rose promises that they'll come back and see him, but the doctor says they can't. They only arrived here by accident. And when they leave, they have to seal the crack behind them, meaning they can never go back.
And Rose is like, but what if I need you? And Mickey says, we had something before, but we don't have anything anymore. You don't need me, you have him. And it's like, oh, damn.
Damn, Mickey. Yeah. The doctor gives Rose's phone to Mickey and tells him to get the code out there. And he says, Mickey the idiot, good luck.
And gives him a playful slap.
Yeah. And the doctor goes back to the TARDIS, and then briefly Rose and Mickey kind of reminisce about their childhood. And they, what?
I just thought of something.
What? You look so concerned.
I am. Oh,
What?
no. Mickey's gran had the headphones in.
Yeah. Don't say that.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Yeah, so they're kind of like reminiscing about their childhood. And then Rose says, like, we were always looking off into the future. Never thought we were going to end up like this. Yeah, never imagined we'd be traveling among the stars or whatever. And yeah, they say goodbye. Rose goes back to the TARDIS. And Mickey says to Jake, you're going to want to see this. And they'll see the TARDIS disappears. And Jake's like, what? What's that? And he says, that's the Doctor and Rose Tyler in the TARDIS.
Oh.
Yeah. And then the TARDIS materializes back in End Space Jackie's flat.
I like this scene with Rose.
Yeah, Rose kind of breaks down into tears and says, like, you're alive, and goes to hug her. And she's like, of course I'm alive. And she says, where have you been? And he's like, the doctor says, like, far away. She says, where's Mickey? And he says, he's gone home. And then the episode ends back on the parallel Earth. Mickey tells Jake that basically, look, I know this is hard for you because we look the same, but I'm not trying to replace Ricky. I'm going to be my own man, but we can remember him by fighting in his name. And Jake seems totally on board with this. And Mickey says, I wonder if there's a cyber factory in Paris. And Jake says, yeah, probably. And he's like, let's go then. Let's go liberate Paris. And then he says, what? Us, two guys in a van. And Mickey says, yeah, there's nothing wrong with a van. I wouldn't save the universe with a big yellow truck. And then they drive off. Past
Response.
Past the welcome to Newport sign.
Oh, no. You were dying to say that, weren't you?
It's a bit distracting, yeah. But then that's it. So, Rise of the Cybermen, Age of Steel. Where are we sitting? You like it less than you did prior to the rewatch?
Yes. I'm so conflicted.
Yeah. Do you still enjoy this story?
I hate to say this. This is no longer an episode I look back on and go, I can't wait to get to this one.
Oh. Well, that's
Sad, yeah.
yeah. I like this one.
I like it. I love the concept. I love the idea. I love the Cybermen when they're not.
Why? So, because your complaints have mostly been nitpicks. So, what has happened here for you to so completely like divert from what you liked?
Because from what I remembered about the episode was very much like the Mickey bits, the little bit of like, what was it, Pete's World, Jackie, and the Cyber Factory. Yeah. That was kind of what I remembered, and the Zeppelin at the end.
Yeah.
I didn't remember much else, and they were like the bits I liked.
So what was here that you forgot about that brings it down?
It's less forgot about and wasn't paying attention to the first time around. You know, again, the fact that there was a couple of circumstances where something came in to save the day last minute and it kind of doesn't make that much sense and is forgotten about. And I kind of don't like it. I think
what specifically comes
things
to mind about that, about like the Deus Ex Machina?
I just think for genuinely the Cybermen, it's quite a dark story.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think they're so scary in concept that I think these little things that come in just to save the day.
Yeah, but what things specifically?
Well, again, if the doctor typed in the code at the end, I know it's a nitpick, but it would feel less like he's like, watch this, plugs the phone in. Do you know what I mean? Again, what if that didn't work? Again, they're surrounded and he just points out the cell. What if that didn't work? It's like, it seems like almost luck that they worked and it's not like planned and thought through.
No, I just seem like the phone thing, like the doctor does say like Lumic made an effort to make sure all the tech like works with each other and they all collaborate.
On this parallel universe, in this universe.
We can assume the Rose's Samsung exists on the parallel Earth.
We can assume. That's what I mean. We can assume that it does. We can assume that
you want to see the cut with the Dr. Axel Cocky slams that phone down and nothing happens.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to see that. I just don't want it to be a thing.
But that's me. I don't see that as like a Deus Ex Machina. I feel like that's just you being like, that's convenient.
But that's what I don't like.
But it's not
convenient.
Yeah, but it's not the same thing though. It's not as if something that hadn't been established before just shows up and saves the day. That I do see that as a little nitpicky. I don't see that as enough of a detractor for your opinion of this story to have dropped in the way it has.
It sours stuff too much for me. Again, I'm very much about I want to be completely in this world, even if it's horrible. I want to believe,
even if it's horrible,
I want to believe what I'm watching. Yeah. I don't want to be pulled out and question things in the moment. And too much in this story did that for me.
Right.
And that's why it's funny because, again, I had a lot of notes for this episode. Well, it's 2 episodes, and you mentioned that, and I think it's funny because you can never tell. Some episodes I have a lot of notes for, and it's notes in a positive way, and then sometimes I have a lot of notes and it's a negative way. And I think a lot of the notes, not all negative, but more than I would like for some of the things being so brilliant. I think it detracts from them.
Right, so you hated this then?
I didn't hate it.
No, I'm pulling your leg. It's fine. Yeah, no, I like it. I give this story overall, like the 2 parts, I give it like a 6. 6 out of 10. Where are you going?
See, before, when I originally had watched this, I think I would have given it like a 7.
Yeah.
Because I quite like this, maybe even an 8.
Yeah.
My view looking back on it. However, rewatching it this time, I think it would just push a 5.
Ooh.
Like.
Oh, fair enough.
And it makes me sad because
do those nitpicks really detract from its good character moments that much for you?
Yeah, because it's like those things of like Rose not progressing and reverting back to how she was. The doctor just not caring about people and being a dick. But I know that's his character, but it's like, okay. And then, you know, things just happening to go right and luck jumping in at certain points. And then that having an effect on how, you know, how impactful the monster is. Especially when it's a two-parter. You want them to be like...
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, again, it's done very well in the first episode to build them up. And even though it does detract from it, in the second episode, it does well to build it back up again. But it just... I think it would have been better if it just stayed that level.
Yeah, no, I get it.
So what's your opinion? We've heard a lot about mine.
It's good. I like it.
Good. I'm glad you did.
No, I like it. Yeah, like I say, I'm not as harsh on the specifics of little things like that. I don't care about the TARDIS charging cell. I think it's fine. I say the phone thing, like I say, it's established. It's fine for me. There are little like continuity errors, things like that, but I find them more charming than anything. There's quite a lot of character moments. I like Ricky for as brief as he was.
I like Ricky as well. I love Ricky and Mickey together. I like
them together. I like how they're initially quite hostile, but you kind of get a sense that there's a respect there in the end. I like that Jake doesn't take to Mickey immediately, yet they seem quite pally by the end. Mrs. Moore is good.
I love Mrs. Moore. I love that team. I think that team is brilliant.
Yeah. And there's another team later, I don't know how well you remember it, but during the Impossible Planet Satan Pit, that's got a good kind of supporting cast as well.
Yeah.
But John Lumick's not the best villain, granted.
But and I think you touched upon it. I don't know whether the tone or kind of what was wanted with the episode was kind of reached or explained well enough, maybe.
Yeah. But again, I like Pete. I like Jackie in this story. I like this story. It doesn't blow me away. It doesn't blow me out of the water. But again, maybe some of my fondness for it is nostalgia. But yeah, like so I think it's a solid like 6 out of 10.
That's fair enough. What's your highlight? What's the best thing you take from this story?
What, as in moment, or like something just specific about the story?
I guess. Well, what do you think is its strength in this? If you were like, you know, whether it's dialogue or music?
Right. That's a good question.
I would assume you would say like interactions. Usually you say that about Russell. You like that, don't you?
Yeah, but like I say, it depends on who it is. Like, do I care about Crane and Lumick's interactions? Not really. But like I said, Mickey and Ricky, Mickey and the Doctor, Mickey and Jake, just Mickey.
I agree, Mickey.
Mickey's the standout of this episode, I think.
And it kind of is his episode, isn't it?
Watching him fly away that Zeppelin and say like, "Welcome to Mickey Smith Airlines," or whatever he says. And then thinking this is the same guy from Rose that was like hanging onto Rose's leg, like, get away from him, he's a thing.
Yeah.
Like, this guy's come a long way.
Yeah, I agree. This is his story. And I love that. That's my favourite part of this. I think it's nice to hear that you feel the same as well.
Yeah. On another note, do you know what time it is?
Is it going to be...
It's trivia time, baby.
Oh, I was going to say different title time.
I have one working title.
Oh, go on then.
Parallel.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Is that for the 2 or just 1?
I assume it's just for 1.
Do you know if
Rise of the Cybermen, probably.
Do you know if it was ever going to be 1 part, or did they always plan on 2?
As far as I'm aware, it was always a 2-parter. Yeah. Early drafts of this story featured body shops where wealthy people would purchase new cybernetic limbs. Russell vetoed this because he thought it wasn't believable.
Hell.
And
that feels very robots.
Yeah, and literally the only other thing I have is the original ending, which was cut, which was basically going to say that the link between the TARDIS and the parallel universe was strong enough for the Doctor to take his Jackie, End Space Jackie, there.
Yeah.
To be united with other Pete.
Yeah.
and then Rose was going to continue traveling with the Doctor. But Russell thought this was A, too depressing early on in the series, and B, it wouldn't have much impact since the parallel Earth was going to be revisited in the finale anyway.
Yeah, this is very true. I'm glad they didn't do that.
So again, this isn't a Russell episode, but that's him being a good showrunner
And saying,
chipping
no.
in and giving good feedback.
I agree. I completely agree. I think it's the fact that you know that Pete is there, and you kind of give Jimmy. It would have been a bit sad that Pete's just lost his Jackie, and then it's like, look, here's a new one.
Yeah,
I like the fact that
at
it's
least
given
Jackie
time.
has had like
many
20 years to grieve.
Yeah.
Where for Pete, it's like, yeah, your wife's not just died, but suffered an awful fate.
Yeah.
Now here's a new model.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's it. That's all I got.
I agree. I think that was a good decision.
Yeah. Do you have anything else about this story?
No, I don't think I do.
No? Me either. Well, with that in mind, thank you all very much for listening.
Thank you for listening to me rant.
Listening to our heated debate. Yeah, hope you enjoyed very much. Don't forget to check us out on your streaming platform of choice. You can check us out over on YouTube. We're on YouTube Music now.
Yeah, because I listen to YouTube Music, and I noticed that we weren't on the podcast section of it, so
Yeah.
Connor has fixed that for you.
So we are now available as regular videos. You can find us in the podcast section on YouTube Music, or you can just go check us out over on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts, whatever your platform of choice is.
If there's any other platforms that you know of, or we could easily upload
Are you
to.
one of the 3 people that use Deezer? Let me know.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a few out there, but I don't know who uses them. But yeah, I mean, you're more than welcome to stick any requests in if you have a platform that we're not on. But yeah, subscribe, follow, whatever the done thing is on your platform of choice to keep up with all our stuff. We appreciate you. Thank you very much for listening. And I guess we'll catch you guys in the next episode where we'll see Queen Liz's coronation.
Oh, yeah.
But until then, stay safe, stay away from Bluetooth earpieces,
Yes.
and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.